Hi, this is Amy Von Protz. Can you hear me?
Hi, Amy. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, John. John, you're muted. It doesn't look like your audio or your, yeah, your audio is hooked up.
Sharon, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Everything over there okay?
You know, yeah, can't complain. Living, breathing.
That's kind of a low bar.
Oh, wait, I have a crush cake sandwich here too, though.
That's raising the bar.
Something to live for. How are you?
I'm actually quite well, thank you for asking.
Glad. Good.
So Sharon, I'm going to turn off my video and my audio until 12:45.
Good, thank you. Okay, 4 minutes to go.
Crystal offer Rose free rent. Rose didn't have the anything in return for that free rent. That's free.
Right.
But it's starting September, there was an agreement verbally between them, not in writing. And on one, Crystal will give the rent in consideration for Rose performing the so-called cutting service. You know, I mean,
Right.
that's more like a trade of bartering, not a free rent, because she will do something.
No, I agree. That's a barter. I agree.
I don't know what that was.
No,
Let me, I want to see.
Oh, there's John.
Crystal's
Okay.
text. After 5 months of being, I can't justify keeping rent without income. So unfortunately, this will be my last month. And then Rose asked her, what works better for you? For me to be out at the end of this?
Okay, it is 12:45. And it's time to start the June 3rd Montecito Board of Architecture Review consent calendar. Item C1. Dale, I see you're online. This is 80 Virginia Lane. Claire, hi Dave.
Yes, this is Dale. I'm here.
Hang on a second. David, have you been given control of the drawings yet? You're on mute.
No, I haven't given it to him. Hold on.
Thank you.
Yes, I do need the share screen.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you again, David, for doing that work.
Yeah. Thanks for
Absolutely.
going in today as chair too.
So Sharon, are you sending over that information or that connection?
Yeah, I did it already.
It's not letting me.
I made Chris from SBAR the co-host.
Well, if Chris wants to do it, that's great.
Sorry.
I'm good. I'll get enough of that tomorrow.
You know, when you go over your name, it kind of flops around. Okay. Sorry, Dave.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay, looks like he's got it. Okay, so item C1, David.
Yeah. Let me just.
There you go.
Hello, John.
Who was that? Oh, Bill?
Bill, yeah.
So Bill, did you want to participate in the consent calendar or no?
No.
Okay,
Is Dave here to run it too?
he is.
Okay. Very
And,
good.
and because of the Brown Act, would you please mute yourself and turn off your video, please?
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, so item number 3. Okay, excellent. Dale, I know you're here. Claire, have you had a chance?
Yes.
And do you have any comments about this project?
No, I do not.
So do you believe it's approvable as submitted?
Yes.
I have also had a chance to review it, and I concur with Claire's comments. Now, it is on for both preliminary and final. So because we are on the consent calendar, County Council requires us to ask the following question. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the consent calendar reviewers about item number C1, 80 Virginia Lane, please? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that. That question will be asked again when we do the full consent calendar at the main board. But Claire and I will recommend approval on this, Dale.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Okay, item C2. This, okay, so this item got placed on the consent calendar, but it was noted that the minutes say return to the full board. So I'm going to refer this item to the full board so that the wishes of the board can be taken into consideration at that point. And as I understand it, it will be the very first item that we do. It probably won't be the first. It'll be done during the consent calendar review period. So Claire, do you agree with that? We had asked that this come back to the full board.
Yes, I actually, I totally agree, because that's when I was looking the plans, and I saw exactly what you saw, that I was like, huh? Am I supposed to be reviewing this or not? So
Okay, so this will get reviewed and at the consent calendar time, we will review item C2. Item C3, 625 Tabor Lane. Is Amy here?
Amy's here.
Okay, Amy, can you turn on your mic in your photo, or at least your mic? Amy, there you go. Okay, thank you.
Last time I was here,
Please go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. All right, last time I was here, it was brought up that we would be continued because we didn't have a landscape plan. And so what I've done is on this this last submittal, I've showed you that our property and this building is screened from the road. And I believe my planner, Katie Knoll, has a comment about this too. And we're not proposing any landscape. And I just wanted to show you the condition from the street and show you the hedge and the fence. And I would like to defer this over to Katie Knoll, our planner.
Hi, this is Katie. I'll make it quick. That's a great summary of what happened last time. I also got clarification that just showing the existing hedge and the gate would be enough to satisfy that request from last time.
Claire, do you concur with that?
I don't. I'm a little confused here, because what we asked for was a plan that showed where the existing or proposed vegetation was.
Yeah, and that's actually shown.
We haven't got that plan. We don't see the plan. We see photograph of the existing vegetation, but we don't see it in plan. And so I'm confused about, because when I went through the drawings, I went, well, where is what we asked for? And
yeah, so Claire, if you look at what's zoomed in right now, they do show existing wood fence, and they do outline that hedge. And again, I was given clarification that was where your direction was.
And who gave you that clarification, please?
That was Alex Tuttle, actually.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so Claire, what do you think? It's a single story, it's back off the street. I don't know what's happening on the south property line. And it looks like there is nothing happening on the south property line. I don't know if this structure warrants planting a brand new hedge, but maybe
that was my feeling was that it was probably going to be okay, but we didn't have a documentation. And that's why I was asking for the applicant to come back now and propose, show a drawing, you know, and I think at the time that I made that recommendation, Sam was in agreement because he said, well, yeah, we can't really see what's existing. And that's all I was asking. I wasn't asking for them to replant anything. I was just asking for the applicant to give us a drawing of what was existing so that we could understand what needed to be screened or not screened.
David, can you go out to Google Earth or Google Maps in satellite view or one of the other vendors, and so that we can take a look at this, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
And maybe this is Katie again, while we're waiting for that to come up. What exactly would you be looking for in that situation, Claire? Like if this wasn't enough?
Perimeter landscaping, which is what's pretty clearly called out in our guidelines.
Yeah. And the applicant, Katie, said that there was some there, but we don't have a documentation of that. And that's all what I was asking for was a documentation of the existing landscaping.
Claire, there it is, right? So we have the street pretty well shown, and it looks to me like there's landscaping on the south side, which is the side that would be most heavily impacted by this very small structure.
Correct. And so those are, it looks like those are probably oak trees or something. And Google Earth does a weird thing with plant materials.
Yes, it does.
It's so weird for me. So it looks like the neighbors is screened, and along the road it's screened.
So are you good with this project then?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
And I am too. Amy, you called out I think it was a Behr, B-E-H-R, white 54.
Yes.
There is no such thing that I could find. There is a Behr white.
That's what the contractor gave.
52, but not a 54.
Okay, I can change that on my plan. That's not a problem.
Okay, so we will condition it that it's Behr white 52.
That's fine. I have no problem with that.
And okay, we are again here for preliminary and final. Again, the county council's asking us to ask anybody online that's attending this meeting, does anybody have a comment, would like to address this portion of the agenda, please? Okay, seeing none, again, that will be asked when it's at the full board. We will recommend approval with you to change the color to white 52. Okay?
Agreed. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Hey, thank you so much.
And that ends the consent calendar. So I am going to mute myself. When it comes back, Bill, you're in charge.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Is everybody there?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, I see Don, we got John, Claire. Do we have Alex? Are you on?
I see him on my screen.
Okay,
And
Oh.
Sam is not here, so that's 7. Who's,
Sam's out and Tip is
Oh.
out too, and I know Dave's here too,
oh
so.
boy.
Yeah, Dave is here because he was out with us.
I'm here.
This is
so-
Alex, and I'm here and ready.
Okay, and are we gonna have enough? Because I gotta step down at 1:30 and for an item, so we'll have Dave, John, Don, Claire, that's 4, right?
That's enough.
Okay,
Don has to leave at 4 o'clock.
okay, well, I'll be back in after.
And
my-
is Tip here or not here?
He is, I saw an email from him, it looked like something about him in the car on the way, something or other, so I didn't read that email yet, but we'll go ahead and get started. Let's open up the Montecito Board of Architecture review agenda for June 3rd, 2021. Let's start with item 1, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on items that are not on this agenda today? Is there anybody out there? Sharon?
Nope, I don't see anybody. Nobody has their hand raised.
Okay, very good. We'll close public comment. Agenda status report. Sharon, anything?
We only have one project that's being continued, and that's the Crown Castle again.
Do you
And
need a motion?
Well, wait, I want to know if Katie is here. Katie, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Can you talk to this a little bit? Because
Yeah.
when I put this on the agenda, it takes another person's spot.
Sorry, repeat.
Well, there's only so many spaces available on the agenda, and every time I put this on, it's not heard.
Yeah, so kind of from the start, we were on that shot clock deadline for this project, and based on previous agendas and meetings, specifically from SBAR, Crown Castle kept getting requests to incorporate other items or provide additional information. So they kept pushing the meeting date. And we've gotten to a point where they keep pushing it. So we're extending that shot clock once again, and I will not schedule it for another MBAR meeting until they are ready to go. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. It's currently not ready to be heard at a next MBAR meeting. So it's continued, quote unquote, off calendar.
Do we need a motion to continue?
Well, I have a question for Alex. Alex, should we just drop this then? Because I don't have a date to continue it to.
Yeah, we can just drop it, and we'll have to renotice I guess.
That's fine.
Are we going to get in trouble with the shot clock if we go that way?
No,
That's the planner's issue, not ours.
yeah,
Well,
not at the moment.
okay, very good. So,
We'll worry about that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to drop item number 8, the Crown Castle project, from our agenda.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, motion carries. So let's move on to meeting minutes of June 6th, 2021. Can you bring those up, Dave, real quick?
Thanks, Katie.
Does anybody on the board have any comments, notes, changes to that agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Or, minutes, sorry.
I
Yes.
have some, item number 3, please. Comment number 2. need fully developed landscape plan to document landscape screening. I think we should drop the words privacy with.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, item number 5, comment number 1. Paint color has to be reconsidered, perhaps a more muted color. Consider a traditional, and then I'd like to strike the word cool stone. So it would say, consider a traditional Santa Barbara style, and then add the word stone instead of the manufactured stone selected. Consider a traditional Santa Barbara style stone instead of the manufactured stone selected. Okay, item number 2, comment number 2, consider more diminutive / smaller windows, multiple windows, and I'd like to strike the word or, and additional landscaping. So if they take the or option, in my personal opinion, that's not what I heard at the board, and I want to make sure everyone agrees with me. So we want them to change the windows
Yeah.
and add additional landscaping.
Yeah, I believe it's both of those two.
And not an or. Then continuing that same sentence, additional landscape screening to create more visual, and I'd like to strike the words as opposed to and add the word for, F-O-R. So add additional landscaping to create more visual interest for the 2 proposed windows facing Olive Mill Road.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Comment number 4, height and massing is acceptable, as is the FAR. Please put on plans. Consider entry, and I'd like to strike the word approach and add entry walk.
Consider,
Softer entry walk.
oh, okay, okay. I couldn't figure out what we were trying, okay.
Item number 5, I have no clue what that means. Can somebody please restudy left walkway?
Oh, yeah, I know what that was. That was the walkway that came in from the driveway in front of the big window in their landscape plan.
Okay, let's change that entirely then to,
I mean, we said restudy left walkway. Well, yeah, that is the
But-
walkway that comes from the driveway across the building to the entrance of the house.
okay, let's say restudy walkways between entry walls and residence.
Yes, yeah, because it's inside the wall.
Right. Okay. Number 6. I'd like to strike the word appears to walled in to say project has an urban feeling. Consider breaking up da 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 da. Is that okay with
Project
everyone?
appears to have a urban feeling.
Project has an urban feeling. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, number 7, restudy pool equipment in enclosure. And I think what we want to say is location, add the word location there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for item number 5. Well, I've got
We
another
were
one.
busy on that one.
Yeah, well, item number 6, we're going to have a few as well. So, okay, so comment number 1 for item 6, consider concerns about raising height of accessory structure, period. Okay.
Is that a concern, or my understanding is the board would not accept that?
Okay, let's get the minutes right. How's the rest of the board feel?
I agreed with Dave. I think we said we would keep it.
Oh, yeah, this is that one on Osprey.
It's
Yeah.
encroaching in the setback significantly.
To leave the height as it was, I think was.
Okay, then let's drop off the words concerns about and end up with the phrase raising height of accessory structure unacceptable.
Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, let's be clear about that. Okay, comment number 2, landscaping has improved, comma, but would like to see more screening of structure. I did not understand by wall, especially back building. I did not understand that comment.
Well, that was the accessory structure, into the rear yard setback that we were
Yes.
concerned about.
And what is it that we're trying to tell them to do? Or
Just
what
more
did you
screening.
tell them at the meeting?
To provide screening on site. Right now, it's the neighbor that's providing the screening to that.
Correct.
structure.
Okay, so let's reconsider all of that. Item number 2 to say the following: landscape has improved, period. Provide on-site landscape screening at south and west property lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Now, number 3, restudy exterior lighting fixtures and number of path lights proposed. Should be integral to style, feeling of property. Consider fewer, strike the word or, consider fewer and not as contemporary light fixtures to fit architectural style.
Good. That's what we tried to say.
Right.
Okay. Item number, it's misnumbered. It says 5 here and then 2. The NBA comments are mislabeled 4, 2, 3. So comment number 5 is consider removal of footpath at street. Was it consider or was it remove footpath at street?
I mean, I think I made that comment, and what I was saying, remove the footpath.
And I
Remove
agree.
footpath.
And I think that rather than say consider, I think remove footpath at street.
Yeah,
Correct.
because there's a footpath right across the street.
And I agree. That was what came down in the meeting, which is what we're supposed to be doing with these minutes. And Mr. Chairman, that's all the comments I have.
Okay, thank you, John. Was there anyone else who had any comments on any of the items from the April 22nd meeting? Or minutes?
What about May 20th?
June 6th.
May
June
20th.
6th, sorry, yeah.
No, I
So,
have no further comment.
Okay,
So-
all right. So,
David, sometimes you do. Are you good here? David?
Yes.
Okay. So I will move for approval of the May 20th minutes as amended.
I have a
I'll
second.
second that.
Seconded by Don. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Let's go on to the item 4, Montecito consent agenda. There were three items on there, John, today.
There were. So I listen carefully, everybody. Okay, item C1 was on for preliminary and final. Claire and I recommend that we approve that this full board approve it as submitted, but it is a preliminary, so it requires
So
comment.
is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on item C1, 80 Virginia Lane? Anyone?
Bill, no one's hand is up and I didn't receive any letters.
Okay, all right, so we'll close public comment. Back to John, you made the motion. Did we
I
get a
did. I don't know if we got a second. Did somebody second it?
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Claire for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. motion
And you will
carries.
see you'll see why I'm going to skip C2 for a second. Item C3, 625 Tabor Lane, also is on for preliminary and final. Claire and I would like to recommend for approval as submitted, except the color will be Behr, B-E-H-R. It's the brand of a paint company. Behr White 52. Behr White 54 is noted on the plans. To the best of my knowledge, I could not find that it existed. So I'm just trying to get the color correct on the plans. So we'd like to recommend that.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to item number C3, 625 Tabor Lane? Sharon, anybody?
Thank you, Bill. No, nobody's.
All right, thank you. We'll close public comment, and we had a motion to approve by John and
I'll second that.
seconded by Claire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number C2. This is that house that did a lot of work, and then Don Sherry picked it up and brought it. It got placed on the consent calendar, but the board had asked that it go to the full board. So Claire and I are recommending that it now be taken up by the full board for a review.
So shall we do the review now real quickly?
I think that that's the appropriate place.
I had a chance to look it over. So here are the comments. Nice project. Determine whether covered porch should be added to FAR calculation. Request that building color be reduced to LRV 0.84 less. Light to be dark sky compliant with bulb shielded. One member thinks covered porch needs further study and detailing to better match the existing residence. Need detailing for wood decks to ensure they fit with the architectural style. One member suggests further study of front entry to enlarge entry and redo handrails. Ensure civil engineering review changes to drainage. Study roof drainage detailing. Okay. So do we just review it ourselves, or do we want to?
No, the whole board is now reviewing this project. It got mistakenly put on the consent item when you could look in the minutes. We said we wanted it reviewed by the full board.
So do we?
So is the applicant here?
Yeah, let's.
Yes, it's Dawn. She's here.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Everyone.
hey, Don, do you want to take us through your revisions and corrections and final review?
Sure, no problem. There's some minor miscellaneous notations that were added, and that maybe we just start by going straight to the elevations, which is A 2.1, I think. And
So yeah, that's the perfect place.
yeah, and so we now have a dark sky compliant light fixture. The reflectivity has been noted. It's on a different sheet. It's on the finished schedule. The reflectivity of the plaster has been noted as non-reflective. The drainage has been resolved. We have a civil engineer on board. The structural engineering has been resolved. It's all been redone with a new structural engineer. The front railing, we decided to leave. It's on the proposed south elevation. We decided to leave that. It's existing, and it's I think it's simple and somewhat charming. It's may or may not have been original, but it's there, and we like it, and it's wrought iron, and it has a little, you may or may not, maybe it shows it better on another elevation. There's a little lamb's tongue detail at the end of it. But we're keeping that. We'd like to propose to keep that. The west elevation shows it there, and yeah, exactly. It's a little, no, it's just it's a return, I guess. It's wrought iron though, and it looks old and very, in keeping with the existing architecture, we think. the additional detailing, the drainage, by the way, is there is a parapet wall, a small parapet wall that we confirmed when we went up on the roof, and we've added 2 scuppers on the north elevation. If you go back to that elevation, one drains to the east, and it drains to an existing downspout, and then you can see note 23. One drains with it's a scupper and a conductor head and a downspout. Yes, right there, and it drains down to the west, and it's matched to match existing, which is a painted finish that matches the color of the plaster. If you scroll down on that same page to the west elevation, you'll see the proposed railing design. I talked to and confirmed with Tim and Pam at Post Hazeltine that this was an appropriate direction to go with the railing. The reason that I chose more of a traditional, more detailed railing for this back patio is because even though the existing railing that you'll see to the right of that one is the one from the old kitchen, it looked very utilitarian, and I didn't think that the covered patio, I thought that the covered patio merited more of a refined traditional detailing with a stained wood formed top rail and more detailed turned wood picket and a bottom rail. And so that's why we're proposing what you see here. And I'm trying to think of what else was on. Oh, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chris Gilliland, but can somebody put the minutes back up again? And so I
Good
can.
question about the FAR and calculating that, adding the FAR into the cover porch into the FAR.
Right, it's not required to be. That was clarified by staff. Oh, there's one more thing. The back, there was mention of the back deck off of the master bedroom being more appropriate in a patio, and we agree. So that patio is now a concrete patio with tile over it, and the tiles matching the tile on the covered patio, the proposed covered patio. That's the one you see on.
You want to stay on the elevations?
Yeah, it was on the elevations, and then it's also on the site plan too. But yeah, that's now not a wooden deck. It's now a tile over concrete deck. You can zoom in on the north elevation, the left side of the north elevation, and you'll see that. That now it's not a deck anymore, but it probably shows that better and noted on the site plan, but just wanted you to know. Yeah, maybe go to the minutes again. I'm not trying to race through this, but I know your timing is important too. So let me know if I'm going too fast.
Oh, perfect.
Doing this front handrail, the wood decks. We can look at just the detail page before we hand off to the landscape architect, Chris, and maybe just kind of look through those details. The barrel vaulted, the barrel tile formed into the plaster, at the parapet wall, the dark sky compliant lighting, the gutter, the deck edge, detail 12, edge of tile patio where it meets the vertical plaster wall at the base of the covered patio. The weep screed at the base of the plaster wall.
Second page.
And second page. Tile stair treads. Zoom in maybe on the detail of the railing, which is in the bottom center. And again, this was reviewed by Post Hazeltine. And that's, I'll wait for questions if anybody has any until that portion of the meeting, but I'll let Chris talk now about the landscape plan, and if you want to turn, yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
John, just a second for a minute. John Watson, are you there? John?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you take over? I've got a.
Yes, I can. Very good.
Thank you.
Bill has another meeting he has to go to. So, okay. So, Chris, would you please present the plan to us?
Surely.
Thank you.
I think thank you, Mr. Chair. There are 3 landscape plans here. If you can go back 2 sheets, I just want to briefly run through the hardscape, which actually includes a little tiny bit of lighting just for safety. And that is, and again, as a reminder, this landscape is very simplified, and we will, the whole idea here was to get the house approved so they can keep working on that. And this landscape also, but there may be a future phase for pool in the back, and we may develop the front yard a little bit further at that time, but that, may be a little ways off. So this plan basically just shows the hardscape, no change from the last time that you saw it, aside from just adding some temporary solar light fixtures for the stairways for safety. And obviously we've included all the necessary information needed for final detailing and whatnot. So on to the next page, which is just the irrigation plan, will be all new. It's pretty derelict at the moment. And then this plan here shows the new planting, which also mimics what was shown at the previous meeting, just with plants called out. Again, nothing really new here. Adding some new trees in the front to sort of privatize, because as it stands, you look down the driveway all the way to the back of the back fence, really. So we're trying to close that down a little bit. And then we are also trying to screen those walls in the front with some shrubs and cascading plants over, so that from the street you don't see those as much. And otherwise, just sort of filling in the blanks, adding a little activity space, lawn in the backyard, and then simplified planting throughout. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. Happy to answer questions.
Okay. Are you 2 done with your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Excellent. For questions, we're going to go Don, Claire, Dave. Don?
No questions.
Claire?
Yes, I have 2 questions. I just was wondering, noting on the landscape plan that there's 1 tree that's been marked out. What is that? I guess it's going away. What is that tree?
Yeah, it's a California pepper.
Okay, fine.
Bad shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question is that I noticed on the railing going down the steps that railing height is only, I think I read 32 or 36. And yet the railing height on the new railing on the building is 42. So are you sure that I mean, nowadays railings have to be 42. Are you sure that old railing is in compliance?
Which railing, Claire?
The railing that goes down to the side of the stairs, the one that you decided to leave.
That's existing to remain, and it's legal non-conforming. The new railing has 42, and it's unfortunate because the 42 doesn't look very good, but it's code. And
no, I understand. I mean, being a landscaper, I've been dealing with these railings, and now all railings have to be 42. So I was confused about why this one was left at 36. But okay, that's fine.
Okay, and Dave, do you have any questions?
No questions, John. Thank you.
Okay, I have several. Let's continue with that railing. On the south elevation, please, down at the bottom, west elevation, down at the bottom of the page. That there is a walkway from the new covered porch down. It appears to me that note 17, there's more than 30-inch drop there. Do I read the plans correctly there, Dawn? Just to the left of the covered porch? Is there more than a 30-inch drop there, please?
Actually, if I look at the north elevation, and if that is on the edge, which it is, I think you're right, John, and I think that was an oversight. I think that
Okay,
we're gonna have vertical pickets on that wrought iron railing
okay.
going
Very-
down the stair, and I think it's gonna have to go all the way down and reflective on the side view on the north elevation too.
Okay. That's
Sorry
not-
about that.
That's not a problem. Okay, so number 2, can we go to the detail, excuse me, to the door and window schedule, please? It's up a little ways. Do you know what sheet that's on, Dawn?
It's probably A4 point something. Do we have an A4.1 or?
The schedule, yeah.
There.
If you zoom in, just on the left, David, and blow it up, what I'm reading here is that what you have is to be determined, the material. And we don't really know what these doors and windows are. And when I go to your details, I don't see a door or a window called out.
Everything is wood, and that's why the frame is, even though we don't know the manufacturer, if you go to the right-hand side of the schedule, it all says painted wood, and everything's painted wood to match existing.
Okay, so.
Oh, the color is to be determined.
And
No, it's on the finished schedule. It's
okay. I'll get there, Claire. So when I go to the finished details, it looks like you have a metal piece or perhaps wood that the plaster is butting directly up. It's not bullnosing into the wall, which is atypical for a period right up there. Typical window 06. Oh, right there, David. Yeah, exactly. I don't see that that's a bullnose, which is what I would expect. And I don't know of any wood trim like that unless that's existing in the building. And I did not see that in the photographs. Did I misunderstand the photographs?
I think that what you're seeing on that windowsill detail 6 is that you're not seeing the line beyond the plaster that's in line with the outside edge of the, you know, what typically we show is, it shows on this drawing as the line of the outside of the plaster, but it would be extended up above the sill so that you could see that the window is flush on the interior and that there is a bullnose on the exterior.
Okay. Okay. And it appears to me from your comment that you're not fully understanding what light reflective value is. You said that the plaster is no longer reflective. Do you understand what an LRV is? It is not about the finish, the smoothness of it, but about the reflectivity of the color itself. Were you aware of that?
Yes, that's why if you go to the finish schedule.
Yep. And when you look that color up, which I did this morning, it's an LRV of 0.93. Dunn Edwards DEW 380 has an LRV of 0.93.
The reflectivity would also have to do with the sheen, and that color. Which sheen were you looking at the reflectivity for in the color palette?
I just looked up the color on the, so that's all I know. Okay, so those are all the questions that I have. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the board on this item, please? Okay, seeing none. Comments? Again, in the exact same order. Don, do you have any comments about this, please?
No, I think I was always concerned about the stoop size at the front door, but Don explained that. I think the rest of the project is well done. Thank you.
Okay, Claire?
No, I think we've done it, and it's, yeah, I'm fine with it.
David?
I think from where we first saw it, it's been pulled together nicely, and the detailing of the railings and the decks and everything is now appropriate.
Okay, my comments are, I think that the wood railing that you have shown at the actual porch is appropriate. I mean, I think there are a number of different options. I think you picked one that works. I am not convinced that the detailing is completely done. I believe that if you examine the existing building, it is a bullnose, and that should be shown on the drawings. I believe that the color is not shown correctly, that it has too high of an LRV. And I believe that that walkway coming down will not only require a handrail, which is what it's called out, but also a guardrail with the 4 inches. So I will not be able to vote for these drawings as presented. I may be in a minority here. So do people want to continue this to the next meeting to get these details and things cleaned up? Or does somebody want to make a motion and try to include that? Pleasure of the board, please.
I will make a motion for final approval as amended.
Well, what does as amended mean?
Well, the changes that were made by Don.
So as presented.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Okay, so item number, we are now on to item number
1.
No, members' informational briefings, please.
Oh, sorry. God.
We just finished up the consent calendar. Members' informational briefings, please. Anybody?
Nope.
Anybody
Nope.
go anywhere, do anything?
No.
Alex, staff update, please. You're on mute.
I don't have anything other than I'll be stepping out for a bit later, and Joe Dargo will come in and sit in for me.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Final approval of main menu, item number 1, San Ysidro Ranch roundabout. Public Works, I'm not so sure who's representing it, but you're up.
And by
I
the
just
way,
wanted to-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before we start this item, it's posted on the agenda as it's number 1 under the final approval. But on the its description, it says that it's here for conceptual review. What is it?
Alex,
Yeah, there is a noticing error there that we just identified, unfortunately. So
And so what does
it's
that
actually
mean?
supposed to be on for preliminary and final.
Supposed to be for revised preliminary. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well,
So,
where, as the
my
board, what are we-
suggestion-
what
My
are we
suggest,
doing?
give me a second. My suggestion today is to review it. And if you're good to go, continue it for a prelim, final, on consent at the next meeting. If you have comments, have it come back, etc.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris, you are on mute. I don't know who is presenting this project.
Just one
Chris,
other
you
thing, Nicole did prepare a memo, which basically outlines the conditions of approval that were adopted as part of the project by the Board of Supervisors, where it went on appeal. That gives some direction for design-related direction in terms of landscaping and lighting and signage. So perhaps as we go through the presentation, can just keep those in mind.
I have those items up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Chris, could you use that memo to help organize your presentation?
I could. We actually have a presentation that I don't know if we can pull up that kind of covers what we
Okay.
have as it relates to MBAR.
Okay, and then in doing that, there were a number of these conditions that says as feasible or if practical, you know, there was some soft language there. Can you please specifically address whether or not you are able to meet that condition or not, please, as you go through the project? Thank you.
Sure.
Chris, the floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon. It's good to see you all again, virtually anyway. Can we pull up our PowerPoint by chance?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see a PowerPoint in the.
It's a PDF of a PowerPoint. I think it should say MBAR 6321. I guess probably everything says that. But.
What about this?
I think that's
three.
where it says updated.
What's that?
Where it says updated. Can you try that one?
Right down there at the bottom, almost just above where your cursor is.
Whenever I put section new in, I put updated. Is that
That's the memo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I have 3 PDFs. It looks like the submittal was split into 3 PDFs.
And they're fairly technical documents too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the second one's probably the most visual.
Chris,
okay,
can
well,
you forward? Chris, can you forward the PowerPoint?
You know what? I'll just talk off of this one. This will work. Just I don't want to take too much of your all's time.
And Chris, this is Walter. I'll forward it to Alex while you're talking.
Okay, but this is fine to talk off, and we can cover the items that you just requested. So I just was gonna, as a reminder of the project, real quick. You know, this is in the Montecito Community Plan as a needed improvement. We completed initial studies in 2017 that looked at a lot of different options for controlling the interchange. It's a joint project with SBCAG and Caltrans because it involves the freeway. We're specifically looking at the north side of the freeway at San Isidro. So this is the on and off ramps plus North Jameson. I know you all are pretty familiar with this at this point, but just to kind of reset, I know you look at a lot of different projects. Since 2017, we've had over 40 meetings of various types between, you know, in people's yard or living rooms, pop-ups at farmers markets, public meetings, Montecito Association, your board, commissions, boards, you know, pretty much everywhere it's been. And we've collected a lot of good information that's improved the project. The last time we were before your board was February 6th of last year. And if you recall, we had a design working group prior to that had members of your board plus members of the Montecito Planning Commission. So we were already informing the project kind of with that in mind. And the preliminary approval in February had a couple of things that asked us to look at. One was just looking at the bike car interaction. So there were 2 items formally on your, is it called conceptual approval, I think, that asked us to look at. One was the bicycle, how bicycles flow through the intersection, and if we can improve the bicycle car kind of interplay. And then the other was to use lower plants or more open spaces to kind of discourage homeless encampments or things like that, but still try and keep the rural feeling. So balancing those 2 kind of things. Those are the 2 items that we had from the MBAR previously. As we went through the Montecito Planning Commission process, as you know, and just alluded to, there's some conditions placed on it. It was finally approved in June of last year, and then it was appealed to the Board of Supervisors. And that's where we added in the language you just talked about, where that if feasible, just to give a little wiggle room, because some things for engineering design standard reasons, public safety, things like that were not, there was some question as how doable they were, which I'll go through in a minute here. It did go to the Board of Supervisors, then it was also appealed to Coastal Commission, where that appeal was denied. So the project is back to you for hopefully final approval. And we just wanted to, I'll talk about a few things that we incorporated to address your board's comments from last February, as well as the conditions through the Montecito Planning Commission process. Let's see. It's so I'll start with, let me start with the two items that your board asked us to look at last year, which is the bicycle car thing and then some of the planting. So is in terms of the bicycle and car interactions, we talked to a lot of groups, the design engineers, we talked to the Bicycle Coalition, Coast, which is a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy group, Caltrans, and various other stakeholders to kind of figure out if there's anything we could do to improve the sort of the multimodal access through the whole area. And the kind of thing that came out of it was, safety wise, the best thing you can do with a one lane roundabout is the bicycle, as it approaches the roundabout, should take the lane and go through the roundabout as a car. You don't want to have both cars and bikes in there together. So what that means is there's not going to be like a bike lane, for instance, straight through the roundabout. The bicycle will have, the bike lane will have good delineation of where the bicycle comes in and takes the lane to go through it. That's the common way of doing these kind of roundabouts. The thing that we wanted to add as a result of your comments and some of the public input was, for people who aren't comfortable doing that, we still want them to be have good flow through the roundabout. So in order to do that, we created these kind of wider paths through. So these pedestrian paths that you see that are on all the legs of the intersection, we widened those out and we created areas for bikes who don't want to take the lane and go through the roundabout to get off of the road, get onto that path, dismount, and they could walk through using the pedestrian facilities. So those sidewalks have been widened out. We also wanted to strike a balance, as I think maybe my recollection is the design working group, but could have been elsewhere, that we don't want like massive concrete through here. And so we're striking a balance of enough width to get bikes who want to walk through and pedestrians adequate room to pass by each other, but without being too visually imposing. So that was what we went through with that. It's and so we landed on about 8 feet for that width. Was there a question? Oh, sorry. The other thing that was brought up with the last meeting was the planting and making it, not open enough that it wouldn't be attractive to have homeless encampments or things like that in it. That actually dovetails with some of the direction from the Montecito Planning Commission. And this was a kind of a bigger change as it relates to the MBAR and to some of the input that you had given previously, which is they made a condition that you needed to preserve the visual corridor on the north-south route, so that if you're coming down towards the beach, it wouldn't disrupt the center median island, wouldn't disrupt the view going north or going south on San Ysidro. So if you recall, we had kind of a mounded up median island with a lot of planting in it. The new plan, it has mounds on 2 sides that kind of drop down in the middle to preserve that corridor. And we have some renderings that we can look at if they're posted. I'm not totally sure, but we'll try and get those to you. And so that was kind of a major change, but it also does meet the keeping things open with landscaping. The other thing is and this goes along with the multimodal aspects as well, you want to have really good visibility between the cars and the pedestrians and bicyclists through the entire operational part of the roundabout. And so what that means is the plantings in these kind of where the sidewalks are meeting the road, as well as where there's cars that are going to be making a turn, all through that, the maximum height of everything is about 30 inches, and that maintains that good visual relationship between all the travelers. So that's also achieving the second goal of what the MBAR asked us to look at last time. A couple of things I'll touch on that I think relate to your board that came out of the Planning Commission process were a condition, and this gets into the question of what the feasible and what we put if feasible about and what we were able to do. So the first one was the view corridor. So we incorporated that into the plans. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I meant to do this at the beginning. With me is Walter Rubalcava, who you just heard from, who's the project manager. And we also have Aaron Carroll, our landscape architect on. So if there's specific landscaping questions, he can get to those too. But anyway, those were incorporated into the current set of plans that you have before you. The other thing, in terms of plant palettes, is that there was a condition that the Montecito Fire Protection District was okay with the plant palettes that we chose, and we didn't have ones that they were concerned about in the project as new plantings. So we've gone through that process. That actually, most of our plants were okay anyway, so that didn't have a huge effect on the palette, but we were able to check that box that the Fire Protection District is good with this planting plan. Another one was undergrounding of the pole. There's a telephone pole on the northwest corner there on North Jameson in the shoulder there, and there was a condition to underground that, and that was one of the ones we added if feasible, because it's not always up to us what gets undergrounded. Sometimes Edison comes back and says it just can't happen for some reason or another. We think it's going to be feasible, so we're not super concerned about it here, but we just wanted to put that in there in case you never know with them if something were to come up. And then,
so Chris, just to interject real quick, Dave Mandro just pulled up the presentation.
Okay, great. So we can go to the renderings, I think, at the end. I think we've pretty much covered everything. And so now you're looking south towards the ocean, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, if it's kind of small on my screen, but you can see there's that kind of window in the center median now that wasn't in the previous versions of the plans, where you can kind of see down the road. There you go. Thank you. And then if we go to the next one, this is looking north. Again, you can see that view corridor is preserved through the middle there. And the lighting was one of the issues that was, or the questions that was raised on the lighting conditions. So the lighting will have regulators in it so that it can be toned down or adjusted. That was one of the conditions, is that with the minimum lighting be the minimum lighting that's needed be used in the area, and with that, those controls in there will actually be able to adjust it, so we can hit the mark on that. The next one, so here you can see, you see the wider pedestrian refuge area that allows people to kind of make one crossing, gather their stuff, and if they might have a bigger bike or strollers or whatever, surfboards, gives them room to kind of pass each other, collect themselves, make the next leg crossing and things like that. So all that is kind of has been adjusted. This is looking south, right, towards Ventura-ish, or I guess east. And then this is looking back towards Coast Village Road. You can see again all the pedestrian facilities. The other thing that was put in there was a lot of guidance features. So the landscaping, plus there's going to be some low fencing, just to kind of make it, everything's sort of intended to really make it clear how the different modes will traverse the intersection, but not without, or with minimizing, the use of what we usually use, which is like big giant signs that have, retro reflective paint and all that other stuff. So we try to use kind of lower key features to achieve the same thing where possible. We're obviously going to have some signs, that's just requirements of the traffic manuals, but the desire was to give as much of that direction or cues, visual cues for people on how to get through here without putting a bunch of massive signs. So I think I'll stop there and turn it back over to you, and we're happy to answer any questions or get more input from you or whatever you'd like to do.
Okay, I'm going to go Claire, Dave, Don on questions. So Claire, any?
Yes, and this would be a question for Aaron, because I can't read the print on Zoom. What are the pink trees that are now appeared in the middle of the roundabout. I thought originally I thought we had sycamores in there. Now we have pink trees.
Those are Western redbuds. And that came about when we were trying to maintain the mountain and ocean views.
Right, yeah, I know. I mean, we talked about that. So now we've just got redbuds in there.
Correct.
Any questions? Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, David, please.
No questions, John, thanks.
Don, please.
Yes, I didn't see any green paint on the asphalt. Are there going to be bike signature painted on there?
That's a great question. Thank you. We don't have any plans with this initial project to use the green paint. Those are generally used in kind of more urban contexts. So, and actually the county doesn't generally do green painted bike paths. There will be bike paths though. You don't see them in this part of the rendering because they get dropped as you enter the intersection, where again, you're going to either make a choice. Do you want to go take the lane and ride through, or if you want to dismount and walk through. But the current plans just have traditional class 2 bike lane delineation.
Thank you.
Okay, and it's now my turn. On the material board, you showed a retaining wall, but is that part of this presentation or is that part of another submittal? Because I did not see the guardrail, the 42-inch high guardrail that's going to be required. Can you please address that?
So I will start and then Aaron can add to it if he likes, but I believe the wall you're talking about is going to be in the center median wall circle area or kidney bean area.
No,
so
between this roundabout and Highway 101, there is a grade change. That grade change will require a retaining wall.
Yes, and that is being.
Okay, and so the question is that part of this plan, and is the guardrail part of this plan? Because it shows up on your drawings, on your technical drawings. And I'm just asking the question.
Want me to answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think Walter wanted to chime in on this.
Yeah, so that fracture, I think on your color board, you're talking about number 16, that concrete retaining wall fractured fin.
I am.
So yeah, so when we were going through this process, we had discussed that would be part of the Caltrans submittal. That's going to be their walls, part of their project. But this group was interested in seeing what that would likely look like, and we were requested to add it to the project. But again, that will be part of the Caltrans project, that fractured fin wall.
And will the guardrail, which we will see from up here, is that part of this project or is that part of the Caltrans project, please?
The wall, the guardrail that would go on top of this wall?
Yeah, 42 inches minimum height.
Yeah, so whoever is designing the wall, which would be the 4C segment, would be submitting that as part of the wall as well, including the rail.
Okay,
all the wall elements, including the rail.
And I'm just going to jump into here because I'm also on that design review team. And the wall is not going to be this. It's not going to look like this. The design team is recommending that wall be consistent with the texture and look of the sound walls. So,
okay.
And we're working on the railing design.
Okay, excellent. David, can we go back to that rendering, please? The drawing underneath, very good. On the right-hand side, there is a street light shown. How high is that?
If we go to the lighting plans, which I believe is
the lighting plans called out at 24 feet. This does not look like 24 feet. That's why I'm asking the question.
It would be consistent with what the plans show. It's just probably a rendering.
Okay, so
illusion. Yeah.
So for members of the board, I know this is a comment. These are going to probably be about another 4 or 5 or 6 feet higher. Okay, PDF page number 5, please.
Of this set
of the renderings.
of the renderings.
I think you may be on it. Can you just
Yeah.
move out, expand it out? Right in the middle of that rendering, there is a directional sign that's white that's blocking the view of the north. Is there any way to get rid of that sign?
No, the sign package has already been minimized to the extent possible. Now, that doesn't mean it necessarily can't be, it's possible it could be shifted around slightly, like as a sort of a field adjustment. But the sign itself can't be removed.
Okay.
Chris, can it be lowered?
You know, we can take that as a note and look into it. I think that a lot of times they have kind of a specified height.
Okay.
So David, on PDF page 6 of this package, please. Page 6. There you go. There's a yield sign in the middle of that sidewalk, or what I am reading is the sidewalk. What's going on there? Is that incorrectly drawn? Is that not a sidewalk? Can we increase the landscaping? What's going on there? Please.
Are you talking about the word yield?
I'm talking about the
the yield sign. So the sidewalk, the walking area is actually set back from there. This isn't a pedestrian area right here. The crosswalk is farther back from the intersection.
So then the question would be, can the landscaping be increased and so that we don't have a huge blob of concrete right there on the edge? That's the question, please. Like everywhere else on the entire design, can this be made to conform, please? That's the question.
You know, I don't actually know the answer to that. I'd have to, unless you do, Aaron, I'd have to check if there's some, you know, engineering technical reason it needs to be that way.
My best guess there is that concrete was provided for large vehicles to their turning radius wasn't generous enough, and they might need that occasionally for turning.
Okay, very good. That's the end of my questions. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody in the audience on the Zoom meeting that would like to address the board on item number 1, San Ysidro Roundabout, please?
Nobody's hands are raised, John, and I didn't receive any letters.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Okay, back to comments. Claire, Dave, Don, John. So Claire, please. Claire?
I know, I'm just looking to see if I have, I'm not going to comment at this point. I mean, you know.
Okay.
No comment.
David?
I can support the project. They've done what we've asked, and I think it's evolved into a good place. And I do believe this is going to really benefit the community and make that intersection safer and more functional. So I appreciate the details shown in the presentations.
Don?
Yes, I agree. And landscaping is going to be a crucial part of this, and I hope it's mature as early as possible and irrigated properly and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to go back and make comments that were generated out of my questions. If that sign looking north can be adjusted in some way, I think it would be better visually, which is what our charge is. So would you please take a look at that? Also on PDF page number 6, the yield sign, can you please make sure that that yield sign and or that concrete or something is absolutely the best solution that you guys can do? It looks wrong. Just visually, it looks wrong to my eye. And the last comment I have is I want to make sure that the members of the board believe an 8-foot wide walkway is appropriate. That walkway where the man in the red is at the throat going in and out is probably about 5 feet, not 8. And I do a number of larger projects. 8 feet walkway is awfully wide. And I want to make sure that the board is on board with that. I understand the comment, we need bicycles and we need walkway. I understand the handicap requirements of a minimum of 4 feet 0 inches wide. That is minimum. So I know we don't want to go there. But anybody feel that 8 feet is too wide, or am I the only one with that feeling? Please.
I'm going to weigh in. Yes, I actually made a note to myself and I looked down at it. Yeah, it's like, why do we need 8 feet? I mean, it's a bicyclist, you know, doesn't need 8 feet to get across, you know. I mean, all I have to do have to be is the bike, the person. And so I think those are too wide, given what the intention was that this is all pedestrian friendly. And now no pedestrian needs 8 feet. So I'm agreeing with John's comment. I think those should be more like 6 feet or whatever.
David, do you have a feeling one way or the other?
Yeah, I'd like to see them reduced if it's not a safety issue or a requirement. Yeah, definitely, it'd be nicer to have them reduced if it works functionally and for safety.
And Don?
Yes, I agree. I think maybe integrating them into the wall or something would be an advantage.
Members of the board, what I'd like to do is I'd like to propose a motion and sending this off to the consent calendar for both, is it preliminary and final? Whatever it is, final, whatever it is that we need to do.
Preliminary and final.
For preliminary and final, thank you. And I'm going to ask them to look at those signs that I brought up and the width. Is that acceptable to the board?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So I would like to move to continue this item to the consent calendar for preliminary final with the applicant to study the 8-foot width of the sidewalk with the recommendation to reduce it as much as they believe is safe. Number 2, to look at the signage heading north from across the bridge, that directional sign in the middle of the island, to see if they can eliminate it or if they can somehow reduce reduce its visual impact, and restudy the southwest corner with the yield sign to make sure that we have the maximum amount of landscape and the minimum amount of concrete so that it's visually consistent with the rest of the project. And that's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Aaron. Good job. We'll see you in probably a couple weeks, right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Item number 2, 1120 Hill Road. Bill also has a conflict with this and has asked me to take over. So is there anybody here to represent that project for the owners at 1120 Hill Road, please?
Yes, John, this is Joaquin Ornelas with Pacific Architects. Could you guys hear me?
Yes, and can you turn on your video? Is that possible? Sure. Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Thank you. Okay, so do you want to present the project to us, please?
See, I'm turning my video. Am I on now? Oh, no.
We can hear you.
Twice, I suppose.
And now we have a blue sky.
Yeah, that was my tape.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Joaquin. Please go.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a project that's located on Hill Road in which we're proposing an attached one-car garage. The existing home currently has a paved area. And if you could take a look at this site plan, we have Hill Road just here on the right-hand side of the property. There's a private drive that connects these 2 properties that we see right there. ones highlighted, the neighbor below our property on the south, which is actually on the west side. But so this is a private access road. And so the proposed garage would be in the upper corner, and it's attached with a trellis. It's considered an attached garage. And it's just a single one-car garage that's being proposed in that space. It's currently a paved area. There's a fence that's, there's site photographs that we provided that in the submittal as well. But
I don't have those. I can do the Google Earth.
okay, I thought they were submitted along with this. I'm sorry if you don't have them. Yeah, go.
While that's coming up, I think that there's a fairly obvious question about the setbacks, the rear setback. Could you please address that while you're talking here?
Yeah, we've already submitted, we've reviewed this with a land use planner, and we do have a, you know, there was concern about that setback in that area, but we are allowed to encroach up to that distance. We have to rate it or construct it with a proper 1 hour rating for a distance of 5 feet from the property line on both the east property line and the north property line. But we have reviewed that encroachment, and we're allowed up to a 40% encroachment into that rear yard setback.
And is this a PUD or a single family dwelling, or what is this?
Single family residence where all materials, windows, roofing is all going to match what we have existing on the property. Wood windows, asphalt shingles. The siding material would remain the same as what we have on the exterior elevation.
Okay, anything else? Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Thank
there we
you.
go. Yeah, that kind of helps. Again, so you see the siding, the board and batten material we have to being proposed there. We have on that the north side, we have that little shed dormer that's being proposed as well. And you see that on the north elevation. And everything else is going to match existing on the existing residence. We'll comply with night sky compliant lighting. And you'll see the 2 lights there on both sides of the garage door. And for the most part, that's it. It's just a simple little 1-car garage. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. And Don, please.
No questions.
Claire?
Can Dave go back to the site plan? That's it. That was my question. I just wanted to see the site plan again.
Sure.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, and David, do you have questions?
Yeah, are you proposing any new landscaping or screening of the proposed garage?
You know, we are just in preliminary discussions with some landscaping and, you know, some pocket landscaping on the front, off 2 sides of the garage door possibly, but definitely between the garage and the residence, you know, beyond that arbor, we could provide some landscaping there.
How about on the north side?
You know, we're right up on close to the property line there, but we could do whatever, it's definitely a consideration. We could do whatever we need to do to help with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I have 2 questions. It appears that there's a palm tree in that Google Earth photo, which I don't see represented here.
Yeah.
So talk to me, please. Is that there? What's going on?
Yeah, it's not there. I don't know why that, I don't know what's the date of this? Does it have a date on this?
Okay, so at this point, that tree is not there.
No, and I think it'd be helpful if I had, I'm sorry that those photographs that show the site and that specifically in that area are not part of this package, but I could definitely do that site or the photographs for the next review.
Okay. And I have a question for Alex. Can you turn on your mic, please? Alex Tuttle. Alex. Okay, I was hoping he could elucidate this provision. I know that there are provisions that permit you to be in the rear yard setback, but I did not think it was anything more than a shed back there. So, okay. Are there any public comment, please? Anybody in the audience like to address the board on item number 2, 1120 Hill Road, please? Okay, not hearing, not seeing anybody. I'll close public comment. Go back through the same area. Don, Claire, Dave. Don, do you have any comments about this, please?
I have no comment. I think it's a good project.
And you're
Thank
willing
you.
to support it in the rear yard? It's in the rear yard setback.
Yes, and I don't see that being a large problem here.
Okay. Claire?
I don't have a problem with the garage though, but I would like to see a landscaping that shows the existing and the proposed when they return.
Okay, David?
I think in general, the design of the garage structure, the mass bulk and scale and detailing that matches the house is all fine. My concern would be the visual impacts to the neighbors. And so I would like, as Claire mentioned, to see what's proposed for landscaping, and also would strongly encourage the applicant to consider screening the north side of the garage, the one that's most impactful to the adjacent neighbor to the north, and find a way to soften that view or provide photographs or other documentation that can make me feel better about that.
David, are you aware that this project is on the rear yard property line?
I am. That's why I'm asking. Well, and that too, obviously we need confirmation from the planning staff that this is allowed. But I would ask that they consider shifting it off the property line so there is some space for landscaping, is what I'm saying.
Okay, my comment is before I could vote for this project, I want to see a study shifting the garage to the south. South is to the right on this drawing, where the new garage is probably adjoining the existing house. As it's shown on the neighboring part of this permit is not a part of this, just directly below, we can see that there's a garage directly below that, and that it has some landscaping on the left-hand side. I see no reason on earth that these two buildings cannot or should not be connected in some way. And I am very hesitant to, in fact, I don't think I'll be able to vote for a project without landscaping on the, I guess that'd be the north property line. We've got a house, we have a driveway apron, there's a fence, and then there's another piece of driveway. This is becoming asphalt or hard surface. And this board, I believe, has very consistently tried to get more landscaping, et cetera, and particularly between neighbors. So for that reason, I don't think I could support this proposal as shown right here. So those are my comments. What would we like to do with this, gentleman and lady?
Can I add one thing, John?
Sure, of course. Please.
I know you're trying to get hold of Alex, but one of the conditions for it to be allowed to be in the rear yard setback is that it cannot exceed a 12-foot height. That's a maximum height of structure.
No,
So
I understand.
I'm here, so if you have questions, planning questions.
Thank you. I tried to get you during the questions. Can you review with the board what that exception is for accessory structures in the rear yard?
Yeah.
Please.
You can have a detached accessory structure in the rear yard, provided that and it can go all the way up to the property line, at least per the ordinance. Provided that, yeah, it's does not exceed 12 feet in height, does not take up, I believe it's more than 30% of the rear yard area, and that it's separated from the residence by at least 10 feet. So that's partly why it had to be, I believe, to get that 10-foot separation, that's partly what dictated pushing it as far against the property line as it is. Otherwise, they don't meet that 10-foot separation. They might have a foot or two to play with. I'm not positive, but the only other option would be to, if you don't detach it and you can't meet that 10 feet, you'd have to connect it.
Okay. Is that trellis considered a connecting?
No.
Okay, so that allows it to be detached. That's considered detached with that trellis.
That's considered detached. To be considered attached, you have to have common wall.
Okay, of at least 5 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, and is that true in the coastal zone as well as in Maine? Because I know that the 10-foot separation is in the main ordinance only for detached structures, but I don't know about the provision for being in the rear yard.
Yeah, it is that 10-foot for this situation where you have a rear yard accessory structure in the rear yard, 10 feet is the requirement in the coastal zone.
Okay, very good. So my comment is I'd love to see 10 feet of landscaping on the north side and connect those two. So that's my comment. Okay, so
John, just to clarify, your comment is study shifting the garage to connect to the house?
yes, to attach to the
Can
house.
I make a comment on that though, John?
Yes, please.
Really quick. Attaching it does not allow, we will not comply with a setback. We have a 25-foot setback there. Once it's attached, it's a different setback. When it's a detached structure. Go ahead,
Yeah, if
Alex.
it's attached, then it has to be, you have to do the variable setback, and then it has to be, I believe, 15 feet.
15 max, 25. The setback's 25 feet with a 15-foot maximum encroachment. And I don't believe the numbers work for that. It has been considered though, just so you know, it's not, this wasn't the first shot. It was considered to be attached.
Okay, let me ask you this question then. You now have a 2-car garage.
Yes, sir.
Could you expand the garage only to make it into a 3-car garage with a fairly minor amount of rear yard setback encroachment so that the variable would be much easier to attain?
Okay, in concept, that would have to be looked at. I'm not sure that would give us the size that we've got there. That's a minimum size for the 1-car garage in width right now.
No, I understand that. I'm good.
But I definitely take your comments into consideration.
Okay, what does the board want to do? Continue this for further concept? Is where are people? I'm not ready to support this, but maybe other members are.
I would prefer to continue it for further concept and they explore options for creating landscaping on the north side.
Okay, very good. Is everybody okay with that?
I'll go with Dave. That's exactly what I mean, because we're getting into all these land use issues, you know. I think your comments were, for me, I keep wondering why I can't have the garage just attached to the existing garage and put up the landscaping. But these are, you know, yes, it could be, it's other land use issues that come into play there. But for me, I'm not going to be able to vote for this project coming forward unless something has happened and gets it off the setback. So at least there's enough room to landscape.
Yes, and I strongly recommend that if they study options and they don't work, that they document and demonstrate that to us so we know that there aren't other options to,
Understand.
not just say that it doesn't work, but show us graphically.
Okay.
Okay.
And I agree with Dave and Claire's comments.
And so do I. So I think that's really clear. Yes, Joaquin?
It sure is. Thank you all.
Okay, very good. And so I believe the chairman is back. Yes, okay, he just went off, so
I am back. Thank you, John.
thank you.
Standing in, I appreciate that. We will go on to item 3, 1491 Edgecliff Lane. Do we have the applicant online to present the project?
Yes, Zach Hansen here with the Warner Group.
Okay.
Hello.
All right, go ahead.
Doke. So this is an interesting project, but this is a proposal for a new gatehouse, and this is on Edgecliff Lane near Miramar Beach, pretty much exactly where Eucalyptus Lane heads down to the ocean. And Edgecliff Lane is a private road that serves about 7 properties. And we have gotten the signatures of all 7 of those property owners to build this new gatehouse, which is technically on the property of 1491 Edgecliff Lane. And it's a very small structure. If you go to the photos, you can kind of, yeah. So this is essentially the area. There's an existing sandstone gate that separates Eucalyptus Lane from Edgecliff. So we'd essentially be inserting this new gatehouse, yeah, on the right side of this photo. Right there, yep. If you go to the site plan, you can kind of get an idea of where it's going. That one, yeah. So you can see the location of the proposed gatehouse right off of Eucalyptus Lane. And you can go to the next page. So here's the floor plans and elevations and perspectives. We've tried to reduce the mass of this as much as possible. It's essentially the smallest building that it can be per code to have an office and a simple ADU or ADA bath. It's about 75 square feet total. So again, a very simple floor plan. We want to try to match the existing sandstone gate. So the building will be clad in sandstone. It will have probably a stained wood roof, and then metal windows are kind of inserted within that grid. So yeah, that's essentially it.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to questions of the board. John, did you have any questions on this?
I do. How did you determine that that ADA bathroom is large enough?
Just looked at the codes.
Okay, every time I look at the codes, there is a minimum distance in front of the toilet bowl. There's a minimum distance from the toilet to the sidewall. Yep. There's a minimum distance from the toilet to any obstruction going horizontal, which I don't believe you have here. It's like 24 or 30 inches. There's a minimum distance of the sink to the wall. So I don't think you make it. And so the question is, are you sure that this is large enough, or do you believe that maybe a little more research might refine that?
I mean, in general, I believe it conforms. I can definitely kind of do the complete research and essentially show all the required dimensions for you guys. And if needed, you know, the floor plan can easily shift to accommodate that.
Okay. HVAC, aren't you required to provide some form of heating or cooling in this by code? And if so, where's the equipment? How do you run the ducts? It looks like there's not enough room on the roof. So is everything coming in from below? You know, what's going on here?
I mean, it'll probably be just like an exterior mounted unit on the back of the building. And then it's just ducted from the rear. I mean, I think, you know, there's very small units these days that I think we could fit. So I don't think that will be an issue.
Okay. And could you describe the window and wood vertical element, please. And I guess the question is, why isn't everything one material or the other? It looks like you're mixing and matching wood post and metal and stone and, you know, why exactly?
Sure. I mean, yeah,
does it end up
it's
that
a
way?
very simple material palette. Obviously, the sandstone aspect is coming from the existing gate posts that are there now. And then, you know, we kind of wanted to modernize the building as well. So we felt that kind of this modern trellis pergola roof would be fitting. And then it's simply, you know, inserted with metal windows. So, I mean, I think three materials for a building like this is suitable.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, John. Claire, did you have any questions?
What's the square footage on this building?
It's 75 square feet.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's, okay. Oh, there it is. I see it on the agenda. Okay. And this building now belongs to, moving forward, to belong to the property owner of where it's sitting.
Correct.
I mean, I'm getting a little confused about, like, why do we need a gatehouse there? So, I mean, who's requesting this gatehouse?
Well, so pretty much every resident on the street has asked for it. You know, we have a client at 1491, and he kind of spoke with the rest of the neighbors, and there has been, I think, increased theft and vandalism and noise problems that pretty much every resident has noted. And as I said, when we submitted this project, we got each neighbor's signature and sign off to support the project. So it's kind of a whole community idea.
So is the gatehouse manned 24 hours a day?
That's the goal, yes.
So somebody will be, okay.
Is that it, Claire?
Yes, at this point,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Don, did you have questions?
Yes, what is the width of the existing gate between that sandstone column and the other side?
If you go to the floor plan on the last page, and zoom in on the plan there. So there's a road easement there that's about 16 feet. So the gate takes up about all of that. So, you know, it's about 16 feet.
Okay, I'm concerned about the width for fire access and resident exiting during a fire. But I
And the gate
understand
is
that's
existing.
the way it is now.
Right.
Okay, was that it, Don?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Dave, did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, thanks.
Okay. So a quick question, are those windows going to be like sliding windows, or will somebody come out of the kiosk?
Yeah, so if you zoom in on the plan, you can kind of see which sections that the windows will be sliding.
Got it.
So the goal is essentially that triple slider will go all the way to the left, and then the vertical window will move up, so that whole kind of corner is open to the cars.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, there's a door here too, so he could just walk straight out.
Walk out. Okay. Looking at the dimensions there, I know that you need 4 feet in front of the toilet, so you're not going to have enough room in that. So something will have to change there, but we'll get into that in the comments. The other question I had is, is this in the setback then of that property technically, or how does that work?
I don't understand.
Yeah, so essentially it is within the setback. We've applied for a variance to get around that. But essentially it's very hidden from all neighbors, like no one can really directly see it. There's a private access easement on the north side of the property. It's like a public access trail that essentially separates our property from like the Sea Meadows community. And there's a bunch of vegetation back there, and really no property can see the building. But as I mentioned, our variance is in progress.
Okay, that was all I had for questions. All right, let's open public.
Bill, can I jump in? Have you guys studied putting this on the opposite side of the street? And therefore
Yeah.
avoid that?
Yeah, there's a wall there now. So there's not really any room. The gate post house is essentially abutted to a 6-foot concrete wall, which retains the property above. It's about like a 6-foot height difference from the road to the property. So we can't really move that wall. Yeah, that's a retaining wall. There's one there, but then to the north, there's one just along the gate pillar that retains all earth. So there's not really any way to move that.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you, John. Let's open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item?
Bill, I haven't received any letters and no one is raising their hand.
Okay, all right, let's close public comment. Let's go back to the board for their comments. John, you want to kick us off with your comments?
I would like to, I have 2 comments. I would love to have a study shown with this structure out of the setback on the other side. And if it's 6 feet higher from the property that we don't see, I'm okay with that. I like this design where it is, but I just want to make sure we're not making a mistake here by asking for at least a quick study. That's number 1. Number 2, architecturally, your office did a gymnasium. I can't remember the name of the street. It was up in the hills, Park Lane or something like that. Which
Park Hill Lane.
Park Hill Lane, which my sense is that the detailing of all of that was more elegant than what you are proposing here. And I don't get a remarkable building when I look at this. And you did have in your photographs that little gatehouse that's just around the corner, and that's a fairly remarkable little building. And I would like to ask you to study, I think it's about detailing, I think it's about materials, I don't think it's about form. So I would love to ask you to go back in and really make sure you understand every corner and every piece of material and how it's going to work, so that this does in fact turn out to be a remarkable small jewel box right here. And I guess the second part of that is you are showing a desk against what I guess is the south wall, and yet the wall, the stonework does not appear to be 30 inches high, which means you're going to see the back of that desk, which seems odd. It hasn't been fully integrated in, built in to be with this. And I'd like you to make sure that drawing a section from north to south right through that little office space, you've accounted for that desk and the height and the chair and all that and how that's going to work. And if this has to be something to do with ADA, please also make sure you get the 5-foot turnaround. It looks like you've got it, but in the office itself. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Claire, what are your comments?
I think I would like to see a building that is designed more historically. This building occurs to me very contemporary in look. And I think it has too many windows. It's too open, so those are my comments. I just think it looks too contemporary in an area which is historic, is kind of pretty, it's not historical, but it is, I mean, it's kind of like right at the entrance to Miramar Beach. It's like where everybody, and it just looks too utilitarian and too contemporary for its setting, So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Don Sharp, your comments?
Thank you. I'm concerned about several things. Number one, I think the AC unit should be shown on the drawings to assure that it doesn't affect the neighbors and so forth. Also, the flat roof looks good now. However, there's going to be some vents going through it. And I think they should be camouflaged in some way with a roof structure that will do that. And I think the landscaping is going to be crucial to the success of the building with the battered walls and trying to hide that into the back into the side yard there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Don. Dave Mendro, your comments?
Yes, I think from a conceptual level, I'm fine with the design. I like the three materials of stone and wood and metal windows is infill and the idea that it looks like a trellis that's been infilled. But I'm going to also reiterate many of the comments that I've made, that before you come back to really study this to make sure it's feasible, that you can achieve this look. All the technical details on such a small project like this can really impact it. So really make sure the fire access is correct, that the setback encroachment can be done, and bring back photos of the site and things that can justify that this isn't going to impact the neighbor when it's encroaching in the setback. The mechanical system for sure, just as Don just said, both visually and from a sound impact, especially since we're encroaching. The ADA could really increase the size of the structure. So I think before you come back, really do your research and homework so that what you're showing us you can demonstrate will definitely work. But from a conceptual level and an initial visual standpoint, I can support this direction of the project.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I think I agree with Dave's comments that I think there's a lot of nuts and bolts that still need to be worked out, as everybody's pointed out. The height of the desk there, maybe that little short curb wall needs to kind of come up, and maybe it's a portion of the structure in the back has got a parapet. Maybe you can still keep the flat roof in the front and do a parapet in the back to hide some of the equipment and the penetrations of vent stacks. And I think I generally like the direction with the materials. And I guess I should have asked the question too, is, what does the neighborhood look like too? And Claire has kind of brought that up, that obviously there's a different kind of gatehouse down the way. It doesn't need to necessarily match that, but what about the houses down the lane? Does it represent the style of those in any way? Or does it tie into anything in the neighborhood at all? I think it's kind of its own little jewel box, but you're trying to tie materials in together. I think that's good. But I think getting those nuts and bolts kind of pulled together and figured out, it's going to probably change and morph this thing into something else. So I think, take our comments and, put it together and see what you can come up with. Again, I think I generally support the styling, but I think it needs some tweaks to kind of get it there just a little further. So anyway, let's have you come back and we'll take a look at it next time you're ready. All right, thank you. Let's go go on to item number
Mr.
4. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Zach made a comment that he's working on the setback variance. I assume you're talking about the Montecito Planning Commission, is that correct? Or is there something else, another procedure?
Variance would go to the planning commission, yeah.
Okay, so Alex, what do they need at the Planning Commission? Do they need our approval? Do they need positive comments? What do they
I
need?
think they'd be looking for positive comments.
Okay, so it's got to come back to us then.
I think it would.
That's the sense I get, yeah.
Okay, so further conceptual here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a good idea. So why don't you come back for further conceptual review and then get positive comments hopefully next time.
More positive.
More positive, yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item 4, 636 Cowles Road. Do we have the applicant online?
Yeah, I'm here, Dennis Thompson.
All right, hi Dennis.
Hi, hello to everyone. So this is a property on the backside of Eucalyptus Hill, and it on Cowles Road, and it faces the Coast Range. So it's a north-facing house. It has a good sized slope to it from the front to the back of the property, 35 feet or so down the hill. This is going to be helpful, I think. There you go. There you go. So now we're looking at the downhill side or the north side. And our work is focused on the street side, the south side, and to the west of the house. That's it. That's it. So driveway, long driveway goes down to a lower level 2-car garage. And if we can go on to the next sheet, you'll see some pictures of the house. The upper left picture is mainly what you see from the street. It's I don't know, I'd call it a classic East Coast house, symmetrical staircase right in the middle, and symmetrical windows. And our proposal is for this elevation to add 3 dormers in the attic. It's an undeveloped attic right now. I want to bring some light into the attic, and then build to the left or the west side of the house a new family room. Right where that's a large podocarpus tree there, and that's where the family room would be. 1-story addition with a roof deck. And if we scroll out and look to the bottom of this sheet, you'll see those top left 2 images are to illustrate the dormers on the front. These are inspirational images from other East Coast houses. The second picture on the upper row is to illustrate the dormer roof we're going to add to the north side of the attic. And then all the pictures on the right are kind of indicating the feel that we're going for this new family room, sort of a conservatory type room with a roof deck. So it's a very classic, it's kind of a classic house, and we're doing, I think, sort of a classic addition to it. And if we go on to the third sheet, you'll see the upper left is the street view with a pair of French doors in the middle, very symmetrical, windows on either side of the French doors, a wood railing above. There's a lot of wood detailing for us to do here. And then if we look at perhaps the west elevation, the fireplace chimney needs a lot of detailing as well, but similar indication of what's going on this side of the house from the front. And then finally the south side, you got now these French doors will bifold open. So this is the the family room, and it's 2 steps below the living room, but the addition is on grade level at that part of the house. And you'll see upstairs in the attic, that long shed dormer for light into the attic. Floor plans below indicate just conceptually what we have in mind, that upstairs, it's a roof deck off one of the bedrooms, and downstairs, you can see it's a relatively long, narrow living room. So this big family room, a couple of steps down, will give, it's a five or 6 person family, extra living space. And we've got an oak tree off to the side. We're staying well away from that, off to the west side. So that is, that's our proposal, just the concept at this point.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Let's go to questions of the board. Dave Mendro, do you have any questions?
Yeah, how visible is the proposed addition to the immediate neighbors in the street?
Maybe go back to the Google Earth view, or either that or my upper left photo. Yeah, you can see it's in the podocarpus shrubbery just to the left of the house, and then there's oak tree and a number of other trees on the property line there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. John, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Why 2 separate architectural approaches to this attic lighting, please? They feel really different.
Yeah, the north side is big view of the mountains. And I think if the attic is ever developed, the owners wanted to be able to take advantage of that view. So the front side is merely for some balanced light, but the north side is all about the view.
Okay. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Don Sharp, questions?
I have no questions. I would like to say that I lived on Cowles Road for 30 years and no longer own that home. However, I can certainly be, I have no feeling about being a resident there or any compromising values. But I have no questions.
Okay, thank you, Don. Claire, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay, all right. So I think, Dennis, you answered my question with Dave's question. I mean, can you see the deck from the street, the deck surface from the street, do you think, or not? The deck, that
I
is.
think you will.
Do you?
I mean, you'll see more rail than deck.
What's that deck material going to be?
That'll be tile. And actually, I shouldn't say that. We haven't discussed that yet. It could be a wood overlay over a sloped roof. Maybe my first upper left picture gives you the street view.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Maybe if you were further west, I guess, maybe you'd see it more. Is that podocarpus going then as well?
Yes. Yes. And I think you would say that you're going to see more guardrail than roof material or deck material.
Deck material, okay. Okay, that was the only questions I had. All right, let's go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to this item?
We do, Bill. Terry,
Terry?
mute yourself, please.
Okay, I am unmuted, I believe.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Terry.
Hello, I am Terry King, and I'm speaking for a few neighbors that couldn't attend the meeting. I'm I'm sort of downwind. I'm at 2200 Sycamore Canyon Road. So we look up at the property, and for whatever reason, there is a huge sound issue with that property kind of booming down into our master bedroom in our backyard. So hearing about another outside deck is concerning if there are not proper sound barriers, light elements that don't shine. Already their living room TV and lights shine directly into our backyard and bedroom, and proper screening. I know it's not this new family's fault that moved in, but they do have 4 young children. They're in the process right now of building a pool back there too, and pool equipment. So it's hard not to be concerned about the integrity of our quality of life if those issues aren't addressed. Basically screening, any kind of sound barriers with planting, and lights being unobtrusive. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Terry. Are you the house just below this one? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you're looking straight down, below and to the left.
This one here?
No, I think it's the one behind that even.
So their neighbors, their direct neighbors are the Gunnarsons, and we're right below them. They're on Kells, the Gunnarsons, and we're directly below there.
Yeah, I think
So if you're facing the street, it would be the left of the property.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, thank you, Terry. Was there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak to item 4636 Cowles Road?
No, nobody has their hands up. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, all right, thanks, Sharon. So we'll close public comment. We'll go to comments of the board. John, what are your comments?
I want to bifurcate this. I want to talk about the little, is it a family room or living room on the first floor? I don't think you're fully there with detailing. You fully acknowledge that, but it looks to me like it's going to be a very charming, beautiful room. And, you know, I'm fully on board with that, that maybe there needs to be some kind of hedging between you and the neighbors, but I don't think that that's something that can't easily be achieved. But so architecturally, I think that's great. The dormers are a different question. Now, as it turns out, for part of my life, I lived up in Massachusetts, up in Allston, Back Bay, Cambridge, South End, Concord, Wellesley, you know, kind of all over everywhere up there. And my sense is that the elevation from the street is really all about Wellesley and Concord, which are very nice, higher income, elegant, refined neighborhoods. My sense of the what you're calling the north elevation is more Allston, Back Bay, lower ends of Cambridge. They really feel like two very different pieces of architecture. And I think that from my sense, the south elevation and the living room or family room, whatever you call that, really work very well together. I'm not as convinced about the north elevation. Now, I understand your point about we want to take a view of the north. And I'm sure it's a very beautiful elevation, but I think either the south elevation needs to have a more refined shed element to be matched on the north, or the north needs to be changed to the south or something. When I look at the dormers on the north, it just doesn't grab me architecturally, and I think the rest of the house really deserves something better than what you have. Can it be done? Probably. Is what I'm seeing on this drawing right? I don't think so. So something about the proportions, something about the detailing, something about the height of the windows versus the width of the windows. So the big picture is, I personally think, architecturally speaking, the north and the south should match. And I think it could be done either way, but if it's going to be as the north, I think it's going to require more delicate detailing than what you have shown. Thank you, Mr. Besides that, I like the rest of the project very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Dave Mendro, what are your comments?
I like the project, especially the family room and the inspiration images. And I'm a little more open on having the dormers on the more formal street side, and then having the shed, which I could see if there's mountain views would really improve the space for the owners. And when I look at these images, it seems like the house isn't that pure as when you get back around to the other side. So I would be more open to it. It'd be nice if it felt a little better, but given the advantages to the owner, I think I could be okay with that. And I certainly like the family room. But I would ask the applicant to come back to us and address the neighbors' concerns. It's hard to tell how this relates to their property and what can be done either with landscaping or walls to mitigate their concerns about light and sound, or to demonstrate to us that that is not an issue. So that would be my strongest concern at this point to address the next round. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Claire, your comments? Claire?
I have no further comment.
Okay.
I mean, I love this building, by the way. I'm familiar with this building and I think it's really pretty. But my concerns that exist are this roof deck that is going to, you know, as the neighbor is concerned about. I'm concerned about the roof deck, you know. And how much lighting there's going to be up there, how much activity there's going to be up there, how much noise is coming off of it. So those are my concerns.
All right, thank you, Claire. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
Thank you. First of all, Dennis, I hope you have a soil report, or at least have done some preliminary work, because the expansive soil up on Cowles Road is a real problem for adding additions onto homes and so forth. The two different type of roof openings does bother me, even though you can't see both of them together, you do in profile. And I think that should have some restudying. And the rear elevation seems, the additions that were put on just look tacked on and sort of helter-skelter. So I hope that you can tie that in to the original home in the front with, you know, with reasonable work and so forth. Other than that, I think it's a good project.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, I think that I'm okay. I think with the different dormers. I mean, I would say study if you can the idea of trying to either do sheds on both or gables on both. But I think what maybe highlighted for me was the north elevation dormer is that it looks more warehouse-like with glass from edge to edge. And if you look at your inspiration photos, there's more wall, and I'm not saying, you know, I added up, but there's much more wall there kind of separating those and dividing and creating a little bit of interest than just glass from edge to edge, which might be difficult to do anyway without introducing steel into the frame there. So you might consider something more like your inspiration with the side walls and a little bit of wall return on it. I think that would help my feeling of that elevation. I think, you know, I like the addition for sure. And as Claire said too, I think the deck on top, certainly concern for the neighbor. So we're going to want you to show us how you can help screen, help, diminish any lighting issues that might be a case there. Obviously, you can't restrict noise easily out there because it's a deck, but I think that's going to be a concern. Let's see if you can address that. And last but not least, I think your fireplace, as you mentioned, is definitely going to need your detail. So you don't really have any detail on that at all. And we know it's going to want to be a little more special than what you're showing. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Dennis, could you provide us a north-south site section? And the reason I'm asking for that is I think there are many species of plants out there that genetically top out at certain heights, so that your view would be protected, but that the downhill neighbors' light would not, you would not affect their view because the plants are there. And so I think it can be a win-win solution for you and the neighbors, but I think a north-south section will enable you to understand what size tree, what size hedge, et cetera, you would want to provide to be able to provide the screening that Claire is asking for, and obviously the advantage of the north view that you want for your own clients. So if you could provide that, I think that might help all of us get to where everybody wants to go.
Do that.
Bill, also, if I could make an additional comment. If there was a trellis that came off of the existing home onto that trellis or onto the deck, I think it would help soften the difference between the two forms of architecture and sort of blend them in a little bit more. Plus, it would provide a little shade up there also.
You're talking about a trellis on top of the roof deck?
Well, I visualize a trellis coming off of the existing west elevation, essentially, and coming and tying and stepping down rather than just having the two steps would help soften and seem logical and provide better outdoor living space. Because the two forms of architecture are rather dissimilar, and that would help modify that in my estimation. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. So you're here for conceptual review. Do we just make it further concept, come back for further concept review?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll see you when you get back here.
All right, thank you.
And in saying that, Dennis, if you want to start proposing some real detailing, we may be able to get it to preliminary final on consent if you get it far enough. But that would require the board buying off on all of the larger issues and seeing where you're going on the smaller issues.
Yeah, understand. I'll bring back better developed drawings in the site section.
Very good, thank you.
Great, thank you, Dennis. Okay, let's go on to item 5, 811 Romero Canyon Road. Do we have the applicant online?
Yeah, Bill. Greg Griffin, Shubin Donaldson Architects.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Greg.
This area of Romero might seem a little familiar to the board, as they just saw neighboring property a couple of weeks ago for a final approval on a new residence there. If you go to that survey, maybe that second sheet there, the home you approved 4 weeks ago is just on the page bottom there on 817. Yep, that parcel there. 811 being the next parcel up. This parcel has two existing structures on it. There's an ADU kind of there mid right page, and then the main house is off to the far right. This application doesn't propose any changes to those buildings, just kind of sharing that as reference. This is 100% really a landscape proposal, so I'm just kind of setting some context here for the board. The open area to the south of these two existing structures is essentially the front yard for these buildings. But it will also be the quote unquote backyard for the home that you saw a couple weeks ago. We have the same landscape team involved, ground studio, and I believe Ben or Chris is joining us this afternoon. So with that, I'll turn it over to them and happy to answer any other contextual questions when the time comes up.
Great, thank you, Greg. This is Ben with Ground Studio. Glad to be here today. Thank you for hosting us. As Greg mentioned, this is primarily a landscape project, and the improvements from a hardscape perspective are a collection of retaining walls that are meant to create usable spaces. We have a bocce court here, sort of in the center of the page, with a seating area at the end of it, as well as a wall on the downhill side in order to create that larger usable flat area on the hillside. You can see up and to the right of that, there's another retaining wall, retaining grade, and allowing for a seating area, as well as a few more that are coming off of the existing house and up at the top of the page as well. There's a continuation of the decomposed granite pathways that you saw on 817 that essentially continue up onto 811 and connect the two properties together, both envisioned as maintenance pathways as well as walking paths through a series of plantings between the two properties, really meant to connect the two properties aesthetically and physically to make your way between the two. So that's the high-level overview. I know there's been civil plans, there's lighting, so I'd be happy to go through any of these with you and answer questions along the way.
Mr. Chairman, would you please go, David, would you please go to PDF 16 and have the applicant explain the lighting?
I'm not seeing the
PDF 16, it's all the way, almost at the bottom.
bottom, okay.
Right there, bottom, all the way down. Oh, that one right there. The one that your pointer's on.
Oh, this one, okay.
Yeah. There you go. Can you explain all of those red thingies in the trees, please?
Yeah, these the tree lights were envisioned as sort of a downlight type of lighting, and so there's tree lights, and as well there are pathway lights spaced out along the path.
And it looks like there are 4 tree lights per tree. Is that correct? Do I read that correctly?
There is, yeah. There's been discussion on this since it was submitted, and we're already proposing to reduce the lights significantly. So this is a plan that was submitted and subsequently discussed for reduction of light.
Okay, is that for the presentation? Let's go on to questions of the board. John, did you have any other questions?
Maximum height of retaining walls around some of these things. And there's also a light that you used on the parcel to the south that's shining up. And it looked like it was being referenced for this drawing as well. Are you using that light here, or was that only down below?
I think we'd have to look at exactly which light you're referring to, but I think the
Okay.
intent is that there are not uplights on these.
Next sheet up, David. LTO 011, next one up, where your hand is.
Yeah, it's showing on my screen. You're not seeing it?
No, there's a light here. There's 3 pages of lighting fixtures.
Oh, okay. You want to go?
Yeah. And it is not on that page. It's on the next page, please.
Excuse
Right
me.
there at the top.
Bill?
Yes.
Hello?
This is Sharon. Travis, are you the planner for this project?
Yeah. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes. Sorry to interrupt, but this is the planner, Travis. I just want to point out that, well, we're talking about lighting now, but the parcel has a development envelope on it. And according to the action letter, when this lot was created in 1998, no development is allowed outside of the development envelope. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that before you move forward.
Is that envelope shown on the site plan for us?
It should be. The paths connecting the adjacent parcels, that's technically not allowed.
Mr. Mendro, if you go to sheet L, this map Beausoleil here from Shub and Donaldson, if you go to sheet L 1.15, that envelope is outlined further down in the set. I think it's page 7, number 7 in the PDF.
I'm having a hard time hearing whoever's talking.
Is that Matthew? Is that you?
Yeah, Matt, it's a little hard to hear you.
Yeah, you should be able to hear me now, right?
Well,
but
is it
L1.15 shows that development envelope and site plan.
Yeah, and for clarification, we are aware of those, and so there are elements of this that we've discussed with the planner ahead of time, but we're not able to resubmit. So there are elements of this that we already know will have to be removed and are planning on omitting from the plan.
Is it the Matthew? Is it the blue line?
Correct.
Okay, and then back to my question, please, about the height of the retaining walls, please.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. All of these walls are 4 feet or under. So there's 2 of these that are 4 feet and the rest are slightly lower.
Okay, and we were derailed on the question by Travis about that light down farther that's pointing up. So David, if you can go back down, it's on the first of the lighting sheets, right at the top. Yes, it's right in the middle with the red square. Is that part of this lighting proposal?
Yeah, John, I can answer that one for Shub and Donaldson. That's an architectural light that was only associated with the building, as you talked about having it under some of those really large overhangs. There are no uplights in the landscape.
So it's not this project. That light is not part of this project.
Right.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, John. Dave, did you have any questions? Dave Mendro?
Yes. Are there any elevation drawings showing the walls and what material they are and how they look aesthetically?
There are not elevation drawings in this package. We could provide those, but they are a horizontal board form concrete finish, uncolored, similar to the other walls in the 817 project that were behind the home. They're essentially the exact same treatment on these proposed walls.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Claire, did you have any comments or questions? Sorry.
Yes, I'd like to see some site photos of the site. I'd like to see some photos of the existing buildings. You know, we seem to have jumped into lighting. I mean, I'd like to see what's going on here where, you know, so this, okay. This is the site.
Looking west.
So I just scroll through these and you can explain what they are?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So yeah, this is at the north edge of the site. Now we've turned and are looking west. So the 817 property line cuts through about right here. So here is the site of the previous the 817 proposal. So everything you see is sort of uphill of that line. This is continuing to look south. There's a reference to, or you can start to see the beginnings of the existing citrus orchard that is on the site. Continuing to pan around.
And do we have any photos of the existing buildings that exist?
Yeah, if you go back one photo, this is the existing main house on 811. And then just out of sight to the left here is the existing, what's called the cabin, the smaller structure that's to the west of that.
Claire, did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Don Sharp, any questions?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. And I didn't see, you didn't cut any site sections, and I think you said you didn't do any elevations yet. Do you have any site sections or anything through any of these properties?
We do not in this package, no.
Okay. And I see you've done grading around the walkways. Are you just trying to level them out right and left a little bit? I mean, the grade looks fairly gentle on the slope. Do you need to grade it at all? Or are you going to need it to drive a golf cart or something on
Yeah,
that?
there are portions of it that are a little bit steeper than others. And so the intent with the grading as it's shown is really just to make it as consistent of a slope as possible, and not because it's decomposed granite, it's meant to be accessed via a gator or some maintenance vehicle. We had to smooth it out and take into consideration the material of the path to prevent erosion and things like that.
And as I look at this particular site plan, is that area, drive area up by the main house, is that getting redone and recut as well? You're doing some new retaining up there as well?
Yeah, currently this has, this wall typology here is sort of an existing boulder wall. So we're proposing an extension of that to continue it, and then are introducing a right angle wall to create more of a parking area here. Currently the only parking is directly in front of the garage, and so can create some conflict coming in and out. So we're creating a more designated parking space over here to the left.
And the retaining on that is how tall is that retaining wall there?
That's max 4 feet. We're not proposing anything over that. And since the submittal, we've also taken out this wall, and we can navigate that slope just with grading. So that's outside the development permit, and now we're only doing this wall, which is under 4 feet. We are right now. This is all asphalt. We're resurfacing that in the gravel material, and then this existing asphalt drive is being widened slightly for fire access.
Now, are you impacting the oaks up in that area there with your parking spaces? Looks like you're in the drip lines of some of those. Are you going to have to remove?
Yeah, we've had an arborist look at the impacts, and there's already a bit of slope there. It's really one moment that's sort of wedging into any potential root zone, and we would have them be doing hand excavation and be monitoring that as it gets built.
And no other oaks are being affected. The rest is orchard, it looks like, huh?
That's correct. Yeah, no oak trees are being impacted in this plan.
Okay, all right, that was all I had. Okay, let's open up public comment. Is there anyone here to comment on item 5811 Romero Canyon? Sharon, anybody there?
No, I don't have anybody.
Okay,
I haven't received any letters.
okay, let's close public comment and go to the board for their comments. Dave Mendro, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, in general, for the information provided, it sounds like it's going to tie in with what's being done on the adjacent property, and most of the walls are relatively low. But I need a lot more information on what this is going to look like with sections and elevations. I'm also just would want documentation of how you're going to preserve these trees in this area where you're doing work, or if you're going to remove any there. And then the lighting, I'm very concerned about. It doesn't seem to me that amount of lighting and that type of lighting is appropriate for this, rural area. So I would have a very hard time supporting the lighting scheme with all the lighting in the trees. I would really encourage the applicant to restudy that because it just doesn't seem appropriate to me in this context. And it seems like overkill to me. Those are my comments for now.
All right, thank you, Dave. Claire, what are your comments?
My comments are that this is a rural setting, and I don't think that 4-foot cement walls covering however many acres of property there is are needed or wanted or anything. I mean, going back to the lighting, forget it. I mean, I can't right now. I am unwilling, would not be able to vote for this project at all. Period. If you need to have walls, then do some nice stone walls. If you need to, I mean, out in the middle of a pasture land, you're going to put a bocce ball court, and it's going to have 4-foot walls or some size of walls to retain dirt to put that, put the bocce ball court up by the house. I mean, I just think that your proposal, from my opinion, is destroying this piece of property. That's my comment.
All right, thank you, Claire. John Watson, what are your comments?
Well, I'm glad that Claire has an opinion.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Okay, so from a technical standpoint of view, I do believe we need wall elevations irrespective of the material, just so that we can really see what's going on. And I think the lights in the trees, when I reviewed these plans earlier today before the meeting, that just screamed out as something was very, very wrong about that. I don't see lights being proposed at the bocce ball court. Now, the reason I bring that up is for some of us, we know that there are bocce ball tournaments that happen in Montecito from time to time, and they are almost always occur in the evening. And you cannot do that without lights here. And I want to make sure that we understand that somehow, I don't know how you condition that they can never put lights on this, but I think that we should know what's really going on here, because I think that the neighbors to the north that were represented by Joe Cole for the primary residence at 817, this will have as much, if not more, visual impact as the main house. And so I want to make sure we really understand what's going on there. And I understand putting this where it is. I think that people have a right to enjoy their property. There's a remarkable view from here. So being able to play bocce with that view, what a gift. But having said that, I don't know that I see perimeter landscaping along the north property line. Before, when you made a proposal with 817, in my mind, it was very, very far away from the property to the north of this property. And therefore, I wasn't as concerned about it. This is beginning to get closer, and I think that we should understand what the perimeter landscaping is or other landscaping approaches that would provide visual diminishment of this bocce ball court from the neighbor to the north. I think that Claire is right. This is a rural property, and potentially this bocce ball court could become unfortunate in the landscaping to the neighbors. And I think that there's ways to design around that, but I'd like the applicant to at least address that yay or nay in their next presentation. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
Well, I agree with most of the comments, and I think everything's been said, frankly. And we do have some more information to ascertain and so forth. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Don. Yeah, I agree with what I'm hearing too. The tree certainly up there by the parking, I think we'll just need to make sure that those are, well commented and addressed and taken care of. Definitely the lighting seems excessive for sure. And I agree with the comments from the board members on that. Definitely would like to see sections and elevations, section elevations, whatever helps explain how that sort of tears down the hill. And, certainly to Claire's comment, I can understand what she's saying too, to a certain degree. I'm okay with these retaining walls, but I think maybe they need to feel like they're more integrated into the same site. Maybe they're growing out of the landscape and the planting, and maybe that's what John was trying to say, that it's sort of evolving out of the ground, create these spaces, but the landscaping is the strong element, not necessarily these, quote unquote structures that are sitting in the landscape, but the landscape is really the strong part of it, if that makes sense. So, but generally, I think you're going to do a good job in developing that. So I've got confidence in you. That being said, you're here for conceptual review. Come back for further concept and with the information that we're requesting. And I think we'll, if you feel confident enough, add as much information as you want to it, and we can take it as far as we can take it. So,
Mr. Chairman, we know that we have finished details from the project at 817. We know that these two projects are tied together architecturally.
Yeah.
I don't know that we are fully there yet, but if in fact they succeed at significantly reducing the lighting in the trees and address the other issues, are we ready for preliminary final on this at the next meeting, at least in terms of being agendized for that? Or is that too much of a step for the board?
Well, I know maybe some might be and others might not. Claire might not be ready for that.
I'm more than happy to give it. No, I'm not. I want to come back.
For concept.
I want to come back for conceptual. I want to do another conceptual review. This is the first time that I've seen it. I know you just referenced that you'd seen the drawings prior to this meeting, but I didn't do that. And so for me, I want to see it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
At for further conceptual.
Yeah, they can certainly take it further along themselves, and we can make that judgment at that point, I suppose, as well.
Well, yeah, I just think, literally, this is the first time for me that I've seen any part of this project.
Well, my comment on it is we don't have to do anything except continue it if we don't like what they're doing. But if it's preliminary final, and if these guys get it across the goal line, I don't want to hang them up. That's where I'm coming from.
No, I understand that, John. Yeah.
But I don't want to.
I'm saying that I would like to see it back at conceptual.
Okay, very good.
All right.
David, Don,
I agree.
with what?
I agree with Claire. I think it's a very important project, potentially.
Yeah, I'd rather see them come back sooner with a better presentation of the basic design, including elevators. There just isn't enough information here now. And I would be concerned if they went too far, and when I saw it, I couldn't support it. So I prefer that it was a more complete conceptual package, and then we could move them along if everybody's on board.
Okay, well, it looks like then come back for further concept review. All right.
Yep, got it. Thank you, Bill.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 6, 2255 Feather Hill Road. Do we have applicant online?
Danny, you're on mute.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, introduce yourself. And
my name is Danny Longwell. I'm with Two Trees Architects, representing the owner.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
So yeah, this is a renovation addition project at 2255 Feather Hill Road, located east of Romero Canyon. There's an existing house, existing pool, a couple accessory structures, garage. The improvements that we're proposing are just to add a couple bedrooms both to the east and to the west of the main residence, and to add a study, a second floor study that's kind of, I would describe as kind of like a 3/4 story, low plate heights and just kind of a lofty space in the middle of the existing, over the middle of the existing residence. It is, the total square footage we propose to add is 2278, and it's an existing 2695 structure. So that puts us to an FAR of about 85% of the recommended. And because some of the existing accessory buildings exceed their recommended allowance, some of that 575 was actually applied to our total down there. So we're still well under the recommended. It's a large site, and the buildings are kind of focused in the middle. So if you look at our proposed site plan, page 4 of this document, you can kind of see the areas of addition, and the rest of the structures are existing. We propose just light renovations to the existing studio to the north and the existing pool house to the southeast, basically cosmetic cleanups. So there, if you go to the site photo document, I think that's the best to go.
Is it a separate document?
Yeah, right, that one. So here's an aerial view showing the existing. The next page down shows kind of just an imposed rendering of those kind of wings added to the side. So most of the site flow and access stays as is. So next, please. So this, we're just showing, this is kind of a rendering from the existing driveway entrance off the street, comparing it to the existing. You can kind of see that that ridge line that extends out is being added, and then that kind of second story element right in the middle that will also have a stairwell in it. So the next, please. This is just a couple of views from the street in front of that 2-story element. You can see the top one's from the street. The next one is from me standing on my car, kind of just over the hedge. So it's a pretty robust hedge along the street edge there. Next, this is kind of looking back up the driveway, and then from the drive directly across the driveway entrance to the north. Keep going. The north, this is kind of looking northeast and northwest from the driveway. So you can kind of see that along the street edge, there's a lot of layers of mature tall planting. Next, please. these are just kind of views of the existing house on the north side, kind of looking down that middle section there. You can kind of see that little awning. That's where we propose to add the second story element and new entry. Next, please. This is again on the north side of the house, looking east and west. The top is looking west towards the existing studio and east towards the existing garage. Next. This is top one's looking towards the garage on the east, and the existing guest house that's to the north of that. We're not proposing any changes to these structures except for painting. This is kind of the southeast corner across from below the garage. Next, just again, kind of looking north, kind of just trying to show you the context of the kind of mature growth on that side. Again, lots of planting towards the east. Next, this is the existing pool, existing lawn, which we propose to remain. Next, and this is looking up from down below the house from the southwest. Existing tennis court, looking kind of across the pool from the east to the west. And I think that's it. So I'll go back to the site plan.
Okay.
Next one down is just zoomed in a little further. I'm showing the floor plan. We're adding that kind of the master bedroom wing, which is to the east there. The laundry mudroom, and then bedroom and a game room to kind of the south, the west and southwest. So you can see the next slide down is that's the existing floor plan, and the next sheet is the proposed. And a kitchen, living, dining, family stay in the same place. We're just kind of opening up the front entry, which we felt like was very low and compressed, and trying to open that up, give some volume there. You can kind of, the next slide is the roof plan. We're trying to work in with the existing pitches and roof lines and ridge lines. The existing house is kind of a Spanish Mediterranean typology with tiled roofs and plaster. But it had, has these hips. So we're keeping some of the hips, but we're mostly, expressing the gables, kind of bringing it to a more kind of farm ranch style, trying to use some soft, kind of gray stained siding, steel doors and windows, copper roofing or copper colored roofing, and some kind of a cream colored stone with matching grout, more of a kind of a monolithic look than kind of an individual stone. So I think it's kind of a softer texture and less about the individual stone pieces. So these are just the elevations. I guess I should point out the portion in the middle is 8'6" higher than the existing top of roof. So it's not a huge height increase, and we're well below the maximum allowable height. So I think the fact that it's kind of tucked into the middle, it's a small part of the overall massing. I think it's a pretty unobtrusive addition, and gives the clients a nice view of their property to the south. So there's one more sheet that just has it's a materials board. I think does a better job of demonstrating kind of our thoughts right now for the materials. This is kind of a palette that the image in the bottom is just kind of an inspiration image of some of the tone of the siding we're looking to achieve. And then the next sheet is just kind of a creamier color stone and copper gutters and downspouts and steel doors by Euroline in a color called Euro Bronze. It's a little bit warmer, softer than the solid black. And I think that's it. Oh, and then Scott, I think Scott's on, and there's a separate, yeah. Scott, are you there?
I'm here. I'm Scott Menzel. I'm the project landscape architect. I think Danny did a pretty good job of explaining the existing landscape. The proposed landscaping really pertains to the area around the house, defined by the existing driveway to the north and the east, the existing pool and lawn south of the house. And then to the west, there's an existing gravel orchard access drive, which will sort of define the extents of the proposed planting. There's some hardscape changes that we are proposing as well. The entry is probably the more radical change on the north side. The existing entry doesn't really relate well to the entrance to the house. So we're sort of formalizing that in a sense, creating a courtyard. And there are also at least half a dozen large avocado trees in the front yard, which we're proposing to remove. And really our goal is to visually open up the front yard. We're proposing a natural meadow so that visually you see from the house out towards the driveway. And then there's some existing olive trees along the driveway, and we're proposing a few additional trees there as well. And then at the pool, to the east of the pool, there's an existing drainage swale, which really chops up the yard space. So we're proposing, we need to work with a civil engineer, but we're proposing to regrade that slightly and extend some turf to the east so that there's a better connection with the pool cabana. And then lastly, I think there's one more sheet perhaps with a preliminary plant palette. And this is just an example of some of the plant species we're proposing. It's a mix of native and drought tolerant Mediterranean plantings. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Scott and Danny. Let's go on to questions of the board. Dave Mendro, do you have any questions?
Yeah, for the hipped roof portions that you're keeping, did you consider making those gables as well at all?
Yeah, we did actually. We studied that. I like the kind of material change to that one element, which is the dining room on the south side, staying as a hip. And also, you know, I think there's some reasoning to try and keep some of the existing structure. I mean, in terms of being economical. And we felt that there was, I mean, there's good precedence for this type of structure to have some of both. And I think the structure that's stone, which is kind of this dining pavilion that sticks out, and it kind of grounds the house on that side and feels less tall because it's, you know, the finished floor is up at that deck level. So that structure sort of sits down on the ground, and it, I don't know, it felt like it was kind of competing with the other gable there on the right. But yeah, we did consider that in our studies.
And did you study options for the two fireplace chimneys on the the bookend the second floor addition?
It's a result of the locations, I guess, that on the ground floor. So kind of, yeah.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Claire, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Don Sharp, did you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
And John Watson, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been on this board for about 8 years, and then I had about a 10 or something year hiatus. And I was on the Architectural Review Committee before the MBAR was formulated. And as I remember, there were CC&Rs in Feather Hill that restricted it to a single-story building. I don't know if they're still in effect, and I know this board does not enforce private agreements amongst neighbors. The question is, have you reviewed the CC&Rs for this property?
I am not aware of any CC&Rs restricting a second story, but I will look into that further and confirm.
Okay, and then David, can you go to a site plan, overall site plan that shows, I guess it's Feather Hill Road or whatever it is up on the top? When I look at this site plan, it sure looks like there's a lot of road in here. And so the question is, and I understand that there's some kind of an orchard access road or something like that on the west side. Have you considered reorienting the entry from the street, the automobile entry from the street, to be able to increase the landscaping between where the words Feather Hill Road and residence are, turn that all into green or mostly into green, get the parking off the street, and have a secondary service only, you know, landscape gardener only on the west side? Have you taken a look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually what is proposed. We're removing this sort of secondary entrance.
Where's the secondary entrance? I only see one.
You describe it as a service drive to the west. You can see, it might show better on Scott's plan, but right now you can like drive down, see that road to the west that cuts across our entry path. Yeah, that you know, the plan is to abandon that as a driving area. It's just a gravel drive, but it's currently configured that way as the owners receive the property. But we don't actually want to have people driving around the master bedroom, and we want that to be a landscape area and just kind of work with the existing access and flow of the site.
But Danny, you have an entry with two cars shown here in the upper left-hand corner. You have your garages and I guess guest parking on the right-hand side of this drawing. Have you considered moving this is the question, have you considered moving the entry to the vehicular entry to the property to the east side so you can abandon all of that driveway across the north? So the question is, have you considered that?
No, we have not. I think it'd be a pretty like abrupt kind of drop in, and kind of it would remove a lot of mature screening that's there, tall between the driveway and the roads. Very, very tall, mature.
Okay,
screening right now.
And the last question is fire department turnaround. On Scott's drawing, it looked like you had a fire department turnaround directly to the east of the residence. On this one, with some kind of a tree in the middle of it or something. On this one, I don't see that you have a turnaround. Have you gone through the work of getting the fire department turnaround really worked out?
Yes, it is shown correctly on Scott's plan, and you know, we in order to get on this hearing, we submitted this 2 months ago, so we've made some progress in that, and I think we're actually proposing to remove some of that see where the 4 cars are shown there, which is a current parking area. We're proposing to, like, just south of that last car, we want to take all that gravel out. Yeah, exactly. So we need a little bit of that coming down for the fire turnaround, but we're going to kind of remove a lot of that gravel and paved area. Landscaping.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, John. That was, I think you may have answered one of my questions was, did you need all that parking there to the west side of the house where those 4 cars are parked? It sounds like you're talking about reducing that down. Is part of the hammerhead in there? Is that what you're saying too? Yeah, the hammerhead will be there. It's kind of an inline, and where the first 2 cars closest to the garage is where the head goes in. Exactly. Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Okay, that makes sense. And then are you changing the siding on the existing garage and that guest house too to match the main house, or not? No, there's a few, the studio, the garage, and the guest house to the north are board and batten, and we're going to use a different paint color. It's kind of a yellowish color now. So our plan is to paint that in a tone that would complement the natural wood siding of the main house. It looks like they're all different. The guest house looks like board and batten. The garage like horizontal, and the little shed looks like plaster or stucco. Right. We are proposing to change the plaster one to match the house, because that's kind of a direct. That's the pool house. The others will just be colored then at that point. Yeah. Okay. The chimneys on the main house, David kind of broached this a little bit too. Are those going to be wood burning fireplaces, or are you thinking of maybe doing more of a contemporary interior where you could do a direct vent kind of Class A, Class B? The hope is to have a wood burning fireplace in all of them then. Huh? Yeah, in the 2. And are those scaled? You got 2 feet above the roof. Is that the one? Yes. From the side looked like it was really much taller, but you may have calculated you're 10 feet off. Yeah. It made it very tall looking. Okay. Okay, those were the questions I had. Let's go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item number 62255 Feather Hill Road?
Well, I didn't receive any letters. There's someone here that's phoned in. Whoever's phoned in, can you do star, I think it's 6 to unmute yourself? Is there anyone on there that wants to speak to this Feather Hill Road project? Item 62255. No.
Well, there's somebody there, but they're muted.
I can't remember if it's star 3 or star 6. There we. Oh, they're gone now.
Oh, you scared them away. Okay, well, if they do want to talk, we'll get them back later. Let's close public comment and go on to comments of the board. John Watson, what are your thoughts on this?
I like the architecture very much. I am somewhat concerned about the CC&Rs. They may have expired, but I'm fairly certain there are CC&Rs up there, which, as I said earlier in my questioning, we do not enforce them. But okay, so there's that. I think I don't really have any issues with the architecture at all. I think there's a heck of a lot of roadway and gravel and stuff like that on this site plan. And I would love Scott and Danny and the owners to really try to organize it so we don't drive all the way from the west, enter from the west, drive all the way across to the east, drive down to the driveway, really simplify that. Curiously, the next item we have on our agenda had a fairly similar, they had two entrances, but had a fairly similar thing where they drove all the way across the property, and we asked them to change it, which they did. And I think if you look at that, it's amazing how much that change has been. And I would ask you to take a look at reorganizing the vehicular entrance to the property to really minimize automobiles, maximize private living. So those are my, I understand the need to get some kind of truck or something through there occasionally, but those are my comments. It's about the site plan, it's not about the house. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, John. Dave Mendra, what are your comments?
Well, I think it's a very nice renovation and upgrade of that existing compound. I can support it. My own personal comments would be, I'd prefer all gables maybe, just to be more consistent, but I understand that you may need to preserve the structure, and also your argument for the weight of that one element. And then also, I just feel like the chimneys are really emphasizing that second story, even though it's pretty low scale, and would encourage the applicant to study other options. Maybe they're not stone, they're wood, or if there was a way to pair them up on one side, or I know they're coming from existing fireplaces, and it's just something about that I think could be nicer potentially. But you know, overall, I think it's a very nice project, both the architecture and the landscape. So those are just comments that can be taken as the applicant sees fit. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Claire, what are your comments?
My comments are similar to what's been made. I think it's a really nice project. I think this, I really want to compliment the architect on the changes that he's made to the character of this house, and so I have no problem with the architecture. I am in complete agreement with Mr. Watson with this whole driveway entrance, all of this paving or gravel, whatever it is, that causes you to go from one side of the property all the way to the other side of the property. So it's, for me, it's everything, I guess, north of the house is where I would like you guys to really look and see how we can get some of that gone. I just don't see any reason to have to drive, as Mr. Watson has said, from the parking, the guest parking on one side of the property, and you have to drive all the way across the property and back to get to the garage. I just don't see any, I think that's the part of the landscape plan or the site plan that really needs to be re-looked at. And other than that, it looks to me like it's going to be a really nice project.
All right, thank you, Claire. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
I certainly agree with all the comments that have gone before me. The road issues, the width of the road, the driveways, all of that appears to be could be cut down. The two chimneys, anything that you can do, Danny, to mitigate the height, and just they dominate so much. And also, I am concerned about the CC&Rs, but architecturally, it's an incredible, in my opinion, project. Thank you. And I have to check out now. So,
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think I like what you've done. The architecture is going to be a nice change for that home. I too agree with the board in terms of the paving. If you could reduce that gravel paving hardscape for the cars there, I think it'll just make the property even that much better. In terms of the chimney elements, yeah, I think that that was the first thing that I kind of popped into my face was the two chimneys there, and it's because I think partially it's a narrow addition. It's not very significant second floor. If it was wider and they were further apart, it'd probably be not so impacting. But if there's a way to reduce those or make one wood, not a wood burning, but just a a gas log type that with a smaller vent that you don't see really much of, or you could shorten, that might be an option. Or as Dave Mendro suggested, maybe it's the material change. I don't know. It's something that you could do there. Again, it's acceptable. I'd be okay with it. I think, as Dave mentioned, it's more of a suggestion there. If you can figure out a way to reduce that and have one chimney, combine them, or one stack, I think it'd feel a little better. But I could approve it as it is too. So anyway, that being said, you are here, conceptual review, but I think you've got some really good comments and positive feedback from the board. So what does everybody think about giving?
Bill, one question would be story polls, how the board feels.
Well, let's go back to was there a aerial map, aerial photo?
David.
Yeah, go to that.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Bill.
Yes.
Bill, I think the relatively inexpensive story poles here would scream to the neighbors. And if there's a CC&R or something, I think it's going to come out. I just don't think it'd be that hard to do. And my sense is, hopefully they will take our comments to heart about this driveway and all the paving. Again, maybe I'm rushing here, but I'd put it on for preliminary for the next hearing after the story polls. And again, if we don't like it, we won't give it preliminary, but I don't want to be an obstruction here.
Right.
So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Maybe the story poles could just be the ridge line, which is 8 feet taller than the roof.
Yeah.
With a string line between it, just so we can see how that existing hedge conceals that. It appears from the photos, and just make sure that we see that and the neighbors see that.
Sure, I agree.
So it's just a story pulling the center of the building,
Yes.
the second story. We're not going to do the rest of them. Just the addition. Okay.
Second story ridge only. Yeah. No. Okay. That I think would be a good idea. And then do that, and then come back for preliminary, and then we'll move you forward from there.
Great.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. Nice job.
Conceptual preliminary?
Say it again. Yeah, we would give them conceptual, and they'd come back for preliminary after the story and a site visit.
And Danny, you may want to stay on for the next item. I mean, they have it, the proposal was all the way from the west to all the way to the east, very similar, and watch what they did. So that's, do what you need to do.
Yeah, watch us, Danny.
I'll stay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's go on to item 7. Last but not least, 1127 Hill Road. I hear Brian in the background there. Brian, you want to give us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Brian Banks here, agent for the owner. We also have Luis Carrera here, landscape architect.
Let's read them.
We're ready to start whenever you are.
What happened there?
Let's read the minutes there.
Yeah, I'm going to bring them both up here.
Oh,
sorry, excuse me, Bill. We also have Todd Cole here. I thought he dropped off, but it looks like he's back. So.
No, I'm here. Thank you.
All right. So the previous minutes were concerned with removal of trees along roadway, restudy and provide arborist report. Concern with extent of paving with new entrance. Board not in favor of 2 entrances. Restudy to reduce extent of paving and simplify entrances. Consider use of permeable paving. Supports moving gate further into the site. And then planner, what do we have there? The proposed project has been revised since it was last brought before MBAR. The applicant has provided an arborist report which detailed the poor health of the blackwood acacia trees along Hill Road that are proposed for removal. The applicant proposes to plant oak trees in their place. The applicant has also shortened the size of the driveway extension and removed the additional curb cut that would have been required. All right, go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
All righty, sir. Thanks everyone, and thanks John for stealing my thunder. I thought I was going to introduce and tell you guys that we did everything you asked, but we did. I mean, we heard you loud and clear when we were here at Conceptual in January. So for members that weren't at that hearing, we had a secondary proposed driveway entrance on the west side of the property that would have kind of created a circular drive. That obviously was not well received. We've removed that, simplified, came up with a different entry sequence that Luis and Todd will take you through that I think accomplishes a lot of what the clients wanted. But in terms of the comments, we hired just a few weeks after our MBAR hearing, we engaged Duke McPherson. I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to review the arborist report, but I'll give you his summary and conclusion statement at the end. He says, although the row of acacias lining Hill Road have provided special character to the street for many years, I feel that they have outlived their usefulness. They are now in their sentient years. I had to look that one up. Are serious liability to people, buildings, and vehicles. The numerous structural defects and die out which are present contribute to the hazardous condition throughout the tree row. I recommend that the entire row of trees be removed without delay. And
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean, if you go through the report, I didn't even notice really until I read Duke's report and went out there and looked at the trees. Several are dead. Some have split trunks. They're growing up into the utility lines, so forth and so on. So they're in really, they've outlived their usefulness. So we'll take you through those. We are, removing those, but we're also preparing, we're proposing 4 additional trees. So 4 more than are there now, including the oak trees that Todd and Luis will take you through at the entrance. A lot of the other comments are now moot because we don't have that new driveway entrance. And so I think with that, we'll turn it over to Todd and Luis to take you through our revised plan.
Okay, and can you enlarge the site plan so we can talk about it a little bit better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't know where my video is. Am I up? Nope.
Yeah, we can see you, Todd. We can see you. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So as Brian just said, we eliminated the whole concept of the second gate. And the start of all this project was for the client to get a few parking spaces inside the property. They thought initially that they wanted to have guest parking in front of the front door and have decided to forego that for a little bit more parking in front of the garage, to the left of the garage, the area you see stippled or with a grid on it. There was a narrow little parking space there that didn't really accommodate cars. Now you can stack 3 cars there. But for guest entry, the client wanted to improve the feeling on the street, coming in from the street. So we've made this little alcove with a single door as a gate into the entry garden. There's a walkway along the right of way, if we can, from the existing edge of asphalt to this alcove. And then you enter it through a single gate. I think Luis, have we changed that to a 4-foot wide gate from the fire department?
Yeah, so Todd, we have the fire department, just for the board's information, the fire department requested a 4-foot wide gate. So we got their stamp on it, but we have these plans in before we got their approval. So that will become a 4-foot pedestrian gate.
And we've deliberated whether or not it's a 4-foot or a double 5-foot gate. So I don't know if anyone has an issue with that. So you come in through that gate, and in front of you is a piece of stucco wall, which acts as the backdrop for a linear fountain, which goes directly towards the front door. So you have the walk bisects itself, goes down 2 steps because there's a little bit of grade change. You walk along this reflecting pool, and the front door is immediately in front of you, up 1 step from the proposed paving. On the left-hand side of the drawing, there is a square next to a rectangle, and that square would be a sculpture pedestal. And the rectangle is a small area of lawn with stepstones across it. And on the right-hand side, again, is the parking. So the property currently has a bit of stucco wall only in front of the garage, with a rolling driveway gate, which rolls to the left-hand side over by the enclosure, the storage enclosure over there. And the stucco wall ends just about where that cursor is. And our proposal will include extending that stucco wall to the right-hand side, including the alcove. And whereas to the left of this, the property has double frontage, basically. So the left of those storage sheds is a wooden fence, which is to remain. Do you want us to talk about the trees? So there are 6 acacia trees. The ones you saw in the photos are the ones that are immediately.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think if you could go show the board the elevations before you move on to the plantings of the pedestrian, I think that'd be helpful.
Okay.
Then you can move on to planting.
So the idea is that we have the alcove with a large planter on either side with, as I said, either a single 4-foot gate or a double gate. It'll have an electronic entrance, so you'll push the keypad and there will be a camera there. And then we have 2 shielded sconces, which would be on the face of the stucco columns at the street, and no lighting within. Other than once you get inside the courtyard, there will be some landscape lighting.
And
yep, go ahead. So that you can see the 4 acacias that are in front of the house, and then there are 2 more, in front of the guest house. And I should say that the client absolutely loves the feel of the acacias there, because they hide the 6 or 7 wires which run along the face of the property. They provide shade. They keep people from parking all over the front of the property, and they have a nice feeling, even though they're dead. And the client has just recently bought this property within the last year. So, and I suggested the oaks because I think they will do well there. They will have a similar type canopy. The trees tend to be more broad than tall. There is one shot of the mountain view, which is from the swimming pool, the south end of the swimming pool, the existing swimming pool, through that gap where there is no acacia presently between the house and the garage and the guest house. There's a mountain view.
Dave, you might want to go to sheet 4, just to keep up with Todd.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Thanks.
oh, here we go. Yeah.
So the proposed plantings are 6 oak trees, and then because there's not a consistency of one tree along the whole street, we decided to go to a Melaleuca quinquinerva as the other street tree, which is a white trunked evergreen tree with ivory colored flowers like a bottle brush. So once you get inside, there's an existing hedge along the whole front of the property, which is, I believe, I think it's Pittosporum, Pittosporum silver sheen or something, either that or xylosma, I forget. So once you get inside the gate, you have a row of palm trees lining the linear fountain. There are a couple of, in the center of the garden right now are some Phoenix robelinis, which are dwarf palms that are going to be transplanted over into the corner near where the fountain equipment is proposed. And then we have a mix of Mediterranean and evergreen, kind of dark, luscious green plants surrounding the perimeter, and of lamandra, which is a ornamental grass underneath the palms at the center of the garden. What else? I think that's about it. Luis, can you think of anything else we need to?
The existing planting on that west side of the garden is all to remain.
Yeah, there's quite an extensive planting of tree ferns, bamboo, clivia, gardenias, and then that big black dot is a southern magnolia, which is somewhat struggling. We're going to try to bring it back to life. And you
And
can
just
see
for the boards,
Oh, yes.
for the board members that weren't in attendance the last time or didn't see the photos, this is like a 6-foot wall there. So essentially everything on the inside of this property isn't really viewable from the street. Not that it matters, but it matters. And then Todd, you probably want to take them through the next sheets of the planting plan and the lighting so they can get a full. Thanks.
Which
sheet is that? Is it?
There's
There you go.
There's our lighting.
5.
Yeah, there. That's our lighting.
5 and there you go. There you go.
I mean, perhaps let's go back to the last one.
Planting legend.
Yes, let's just go. Do we want? Let's go. Okay, so you can see the trees outside the wall are the melaleuca and the oak, and the inside the wall are the queen palms, which would be used in a row, and the date palm or the pygmy date palm is the one we're transplanting, and then we have a mix of low to medium water use plants on the interior.
Yes, that's fine.
And we've done all of our wheelo calcs. And so this is the lighting plan. So what you're seeing are the 2 sconces outside on the outside face of the pillars. Actually, I think I don't know, and there are 2 on the inside of the 6-foot wall with the gate in it. So as you're walking up the path on the way out, you'll see the 2 treads. And then we have the circle with a cross through it, are path lights, just to get people safely from the gate to the front door and from the parking on the right to the front walk. And that's the extent of our.
And we have the spec sheets on the next sheet there, Dave, so we can view the fixtures. There you go.
So the fixture that you see as it's the Hubbardton Forge one on the right has a shielded, basically a sandblasted glass volume. So the light looks like a candle light on the face of the column. And then the others are the downlights on the paths.
Okay. And what's the last sheet? Is that?
That sums it up. Yes.
Okay.
We're here for any questions.
Very good. All right, let's go to questions of the board. Claire, did you have any questions?
I'd like to see the lighting plan again. Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Next sheet, not that sheet.
Oh, sorry.
One below, yeah.
Any questions regarding that, Claire?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to Dave Mendro. Did you have any questions?
No questions, Bill. Thanks.
Actually, if you leave this planet for a minute, you can see the existing front walk is that kind of crazy pattern that goes off to the right. And there is an existing 4-foot wall there, which we're going to remove, and a gate on the right-hand side where we're expanding that parking by 4 feet.
Okay. Yeah. All right. John Watson, did you have any questions?
No questions.
No questions. The trash enclosure, that's existing?
That's existing, yes.
It's all existing. And what are you doing around the pool? Are you landscaping around?
That's another permit that we're applying for in the future.
Under separate, so the pool and the deck and all that's under separate.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Actually, it's in process, Todd. Just so you know, they're in process now with that. So, but that's
Okay.
separate previous project.
Yep.
Okay, then I won't ask any questions about that. Okay. So let's go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to item 7, 1127 Hill Road?
No, Bill, thank you.
Nobody's seen, so we'll close public comment. We'll go back to the board members for comments. Claire, what are your comments on this?
I think it looks really good. I like what, I'm the oaks, great tree. I mean, that's kind of Montecito's tree. But I'm just a question about how closely they're spaced in relationship when you're looking to like a tree that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
So that's from my landscape point of view, that's the only, I mean, it just kind of It just seems like they might be really crowded. And when
See-
they're actually grown in, you know, however long that takes. But it's not so fast. I mean, it's pretty fast with oaks, you know, that they may be too many of them along
So
there.
if you look at the contour 34 in this drawing that's up, we
Oh,
considered
34, yeah, I see that.
we considered removing that one oak from the proposal, depending on what we could find, and we're planning on buying them at Jimenez because they're grown locally and they have beautiful trees. So if we don't need that one, we would not put it in. To your point about size and scale.
So what size are we saying we're going to put these in at?
60-inch, 72-inch box.
Oh, you're going to do big boxes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Well, then
Jimenez-
then yeah, you can sort that out on site. Then when when the boxes arrive, you'll be able to see whether you can put it there or not. Yeah.
Well, Jimenez is the only nursery that I would trust putting these in with all those wires.
I understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand. Okay. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Claire. John Watson, what are your comments on this?
I think it's a very, very nice project. That's what I got.
Okay, all right, Dave Mendro, comments?
I agree. It's a very nice project. The lighting's appropriate, and I have to rely on Claire for the planting and the landscape. But from what I can see, that looks very nice as well.
Okay, great. I agree. I think you've done a nice job. It
Thank
looks
you.
great. What can we give this? I mean, do we?
Nothing.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's unfortunate, Mr. Chair. We our planner's on vacation, and I think there was a little miscommunication. So even though he recommended further conceptual and prelim, we were only on for further conceptual. So
But we can give it more than that net right now.
No, it's
no,
not
because it wasn't
agendized.
agendized for preliminary. I mean, you can have us come back for prelim and final, obviously, but we couldn't get preliminary today because of it wasn't on the agenda for prelim.
My sense is we can put this on the consent calendar, Claire, but it's your call, I think.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to get it moved on here. So that would, yeah, that would be my recommendation, to move this to the consent item, to consent calendar.
Preliminary and final on consent then.
Yeah, final on
We're happy
consent.
with that.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do that. Preliminary and final on consent for you next time.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have nothing further, so
Thank
I
you.
would move. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd like to move for adjournment since item number 8 is not on our agenda today.
That is correct. You are correct. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
All right, seconded by Claire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right,
Thank you all. Be good.
all right, thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Great job, Dave. Thank you.
You too, Bill.
Oh, God. Let's see. Sharon, are you still on?
I'm still here.
Okay, I meant to report this earlier, but I'm going to go give it to you right now so that you'll have it. I will not be here on the 1st of July or the 15th of July. I'm missing both those meetings back to back.
Grandkids? Are you going to go see your grandkids?
You betcha.
Oh, I'm happy for you.
No, I leave on the 22nd.
All right.
Yeah. So, and I'll be gone for a full month. So I missed both those meetings in July.
Well, I want to see some pictures when you get back.
Oh, well, I've always got those, Sharon. You know?
All right.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited about the fact I will actually get to go hug them. I get to go hug them now.